Welcome, everybody, to Crunch Time. Here with Jeff, Booner.
Let's go,
Lukas,
baby.
Mike. It's Friday, February 23rd. And, man, it's a Friday show, boys. I'm excited. I know you guys are excited. Welcome, everyone, to the show. If you're listening via YouTube, we just passed 3.7 thousand subscribers. That's good. We're getting closer to 4,000. We're going to do a giveaway at 4,000 to reward the people. So that's going to be exciting. Also, for people that ask for timestamps, I just put timestamps in the last live stream, and I'm going to be doing that the day after, the morning after. I'm going to be putting timestamps in because the people have asked, and now I'm giving the people. So I think it's a great addition. If you're listening or via podcast, any platform, leave a 5-star review for the fellas. We'd much appreciate it. But boys, how we doing tonight?
Doing great. Beautiful day today, fellas. I'm pumped.
Were you listening to Jeezy today, Booner?
I listened to about 8 Jeezy songs before I got on here. A little Doughboys as well. It was like a Doughboys day. I saw Spenny tweet about them, so I listened to some of them. The salary cap got raised, boys. Hey, it's a beautiful day to be in Detroit.
Great day. It was beautiful outside today. I just went outside to take a leak before the show started. It's snowing now, but I got a good little 7-mile run in today. I told you I was on my Goggins mode today. 7-mile runs, 50 push-ups in between at the little halfway point. Feeling it.
And it's Mock Draft Friday. Great day.
Mock Draft Friday.
Yes, it is.
And the Red Wings dub yesterday. Big game tomorrow against the Blues. Noon. Let's go.
Real quick, I'm going to just give a shout out to Mike Reed. He just became a Crunch member. So thank you,
Let's
Mike,
go,
for
Mike.
that. It is much appreciated. But before we get into all the the Lions stuff, because we'll have Kory Woods who covers the Lions and Pistons. Don't worry. We're only asking about Lions. He covers them for MLive. He does great work, and he's covering 2 different sports. So he's a machine, and he's joining us at 8:30. Kory's a good friend of ours. Can't wait for that. It's also, like Mike said, it's Fan Mock Draft Friday. So we have submissions from people doing their own Lions mock drafts. I have a bunch of them. If I'm not able to get to yours, it's okay. Just send them to the Crunch Time, any social media platform, Crunch Time. I know people are sending them directly to me. There's no promises that the ones you send directly to us will get in. Usually the ones on Crunch Time get in first. So please send them all to the Crunch Time, social media, any platform. But Mike, you were there in the building yesterday. How was that? I mean, we were live and Kane hit he scored in overtime to kind of get the game winner there. The Red Wings are minus almost 250 to make the playoffs. What was that environment like? It was DMAC night too.
Yeah, obviously it was DMAC night, so it was hype playing the Avalanche. But it's been a playoff atmosphere. Literally, I want to say since Patrick Kane got traded for. Obviously, before that, it's been selling out. But the minute since he's got in there, it's just been totally different, man. And it was a huge game. Like, obviously, they've lost 10 in a row to Colorado. So to finally get over that hump that's huge, man. And like I said, you got a big game tomorrow against the Blues, and then you play the Islanders and the Caps later on in the week. 2 big divisional games. So it's almost playoff time, boys, and I think they're going to go.
I think it was 8 games. I don't know the exact number, but what was the losing streak against the Avalanche?
Yeah, I want to say it was 10 games or something. 8-2 or something wild.
I almost might pull the trigger and go buy tickets to go to the game tomorrow at noon. I know we were talking about it, but fellas, I want to go to a Red Wings game so bad, and seeing the videos from last night, I want to go see what this atmosphere is like. And tomorrow it's 12 o'clock. I think it's on APC, kind of like a primetime slot. I feel like it's going to be jumping the Blues. I might do it. I've been to one game earlier this year, but since Patrick Kane's joined and all of this has happened, I have not been to a game. I would love to just go and just have a couple drinks and just cheer on the fellas, man. I'm so close to doing it.
The day games are so lit too. What's up?
So obviously, you guys know I don't follow hockey that much, but I understand this Patrick Kane thing is obviously something that's not seen before. So put it almost in football terms for me, what Patrick Kane is doing for the Detroit Red Wings right now, just because obviously I can't grasp everything in how big this is for the team.
What would you say?
I'm trying to think of a player that's came back from a crazy injury that, no one expected him to kind of get back to that level. In
a Kurt Warner with the Cardinals?
Yeah. I mean, but Patrick Kane's the best American-born player ever. So the injury, like I said many times, only 8 games combined between 3 people have came back that have came back. They played 8 games from that injury. Man. So
yeah, that's
for him. He's a point per game guy right now. It's just insane. And
Brady going to the Bucks.
I was
Yeah.
talking to our boy Spenny last night, and the way like the vibes are with him and the team, I could easily see him getting re-signed, and
Would love that.
hopefully soon. And obviously, like Michael Rasmussen got re-signed earlier on in the week. Like Mo Sider and Lucas Raymond are right around the corner. So
can I
good
put you
time to
boys
be a
on the
Red Wings
spot?
fan.
You guys are a no-go for the game tomorrow, correct?
Yes.
I'll be up there later that night, but I got my family party at noon. But then I'm leaving. Come see the boys.
You know
Jeffrey?
what, bro? Let me think about it. Now I'm intrigued. If you're going, I didn't know if the boys were going or not. So
I know we were
what?
texting about it, and everyone said no. And now we were talking about it. I'm like, I might just put the boys on the spot because I want to go. I don't have anything to do tomorrow. I want to go.
Dude, the noon games are so fun. The atmosphere, like there's so many people downtown early, and they're playing the Blues. A lot of current Red Wings, former Blues on the team. So it's going to be a good matchup, and all these games matter now. Like every game is going to feel like a playoff game, and all eyes are on the Red Wings.
We need to find some tickets. I think I'm going to go. I think that's my day tomorrow. I'm going to look.
And then we'll do later.
No.
We'll do something later on as well. For Lucas's birthday, right earlier in the week. So we gotta see the Toledo man himself. I just got a donation here. Lions Blood 89. What up, Doe, my guys? With more money, do you think Brad we'll go get a big fish or continue to shop at the thrift store? Thank you for the $5, Lions Blood 89. We appreciate you a ton.
I love that question too.
It's funny you say that, Lions Blood, because the cap just went up $30 million, 30.6 to be exact $million, an increase from last season's salary cap. Of course, this was posted via our Twitter. It wasn't reported first by us, of course, but it was reported first by Jonathan Jones, NFL lead insider. And this is significant, especially for a lot of teams that need the cap. But I think for the Lions, fellas, like you got some guys that you got to re-sign, and it's a football team that's looking to improve this offseason. So, going forward, you got Penei Sewell, St. Brown. Of course, as the years go on, guys get paid more. But this is great news. It's great news.
Huge news.
I think it's huge news. Sorry to cut you off there, Booner, but I just think it's huge news, not only for this year, obviously, but this gives you freedom to kind of play around with contract extensions that you want to. So you can kind of keep them off the books and bring in 1-year deals even more now. It's like the Jared Goff extension, the Penei Sewell extension. You can backload those even more now as concerned to putting them into 2024, 2025 payments. But I didn't mean to cut you off, Boone.
No, I mean, I agree with that to a sense. I just think it's like, hey, now the Detroit Lions, when you do the math, I mean, they're, I think, over at $65 million now available to spend this offseason, which is an insane amount of money. I think it's top 10 in the NFL. And on top of that, and I think I saw something, I was listening to 97.1 earlier, and they, the Valenti and them were talking about in regards to how this is the only playoff team, I believe, the Detroit Lions, in the top 10 for cap space with this new news here. So, shout out real quick, Coach Walk. Real quick. I'll finish my thought in a second. Can we put that up on the screen? How do I do that?
Let's go, Coach Walk.
Coach Walk. What
Shout
are
out.
we doing, Coach?
We don't deserve
Let's
him.
go, Coach.
We don't deserve him.
Coach Walk knows I love a good DC as well, man. Look at that. Booner, get a DC and or a water. I love
Sound
a
like
good
an
DC.
old man. DC.
Wow.
Go.
Coach Walk,
My
God
DC,
bless you.
man.
He says, get a drink on me, boys, this weekend. Booner, get a Diet Coke or a water. My treat. Happy birthday, Lucas. First lap dance is on me.
Legend, man.
I have a question,
Love
though.
Coach Walk.
Obviously,
Love
you got
Coach
to
Walk.
resign. You got to resign Penei and Amon-Ra. You do have some other guys, but do you think this changes like the directory and how aggressive Brad Holmes will be?
Yeah. And that was exactly where I was going with that. Was I think Brad, when this happens, and I heard this today as well, Brad Holmes, this opens up to where now, like before when we talked like Danielle Hunter, we talked Jalen Johnson, like we talked some of these big names. It was like, hey, like Jeff used to said it to me all the time was, Booner, you have to re-sign these guys. Like you have to re-sign guys. Like you can't afford to bring a big time guy in because you have so many guys you have to extend. Now, getting that extra money just opens you up for basically, hey, that's going to pay for part of Danielle Hunter's contract if you bring a guy like that in. And it's at the point to where it's like now you have to go get someone. And I think Brad Holmes has to look at it. And Lucas, I get the 1-year deal and all that. Guess what? The cap's going up next year as well. And it's going to go up the year after that. And it's going to continue to rise a little bit. You could go out and get someone and you can add another star player. And we're going to talk about it later in the show. And I have a lot of different things throughout the show on it. But this basically, like, you're in a Super Bowl window, and we've talked about this a lot, that like now it's the time to go and attack that. You have extra money to spend now because the NFL raised that. Go spend that money and go get a dude that's going to impact and go and help you win a Super Bowl. That's where I'm at with it. Go get a player. Go get a Danielle Hunter. Like, you can go chase that now. You have the money to do it.
Hey, speaking of money, we got people. Steve Lehman, he
Shout
donates
out.
40 as well. He says,
Shout out,
shit,
Steve, man.
more money, boy.
Legend.
Steve, man, thank you so much. That is big time. We do. We appreciate you, Phil. He donates $10 as well.
Phil.
Mike, there for a barber shave. I don't know if he wants you to clean the mustache.
You just gotta leave the stash, Mike. Shave everything else.
All right.
Thank you guys for the donations. We appreciate it.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong with that stuff or no? Like,
No.
that's how I looked at it.
No,
When I saw it go up, I'm like, now we can afford a player. Not, like, you can go get a dude now, and it's not going to affect your bottom line.
No, that's why I asked the question, because that's exactly how I was feeling. I was trying to get the thoughts on the room.
I don't know, guys. Like, you think of it from Brad Holmes' position, all right? Like, he had the end of the season press conference where he evaporated the media, but he also talked about what his kind of his ideology and what his plans are to re-sign players. And he said, we want to keep our own. Not saying he won't sign anybody. I'm not saying that. But in terms of like a significant contract, don't you think Brad kind of knew the cap was going to go up?
Yes, absolutely.
So why would he say that, knowing the cap's going to go up? I don't think this
Just
changes Brad's ideology. I don't think
that's
it
a good-
changes his plans.
That's a good point, Jeff. That maybe this points to signs that maybe like, hey, Jonah, he's not leaving, because if you have all that extra money, let's keep Jonah Jackson around.
Sure.
So that's really interesting. That's a player to watch. I think Josh Reynolds, I know he might not be commanding that much money, but just with the way if they could go, yeah, well, we can go get somebody in the draft, but if you can re-sign Josh for cheap, you're doing that. And this gives him probably the most flexibility than we thought before with just bringing everybody back. But I still, to Booner's point, I think it does, like, regardless, give Brad a little bit more wiggle room in free agency, just because that money is there that wasn't before. But to your point, Jeff, he definitely knew it was coming.
He knew it was coming, but I think, like, in that sense, like, like, with that knowing it's coming, I'm sure he knew that he could go afford a big time player now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's been looking at that. I don't think that's something like we don't know it on the back end, but I'm sure he's been looking at the Danielle Hunters and these big time players saying, hey, now we can go chase after some dudes. And he's probably been planning that within his thing. So within his offseason plan. So I just think now that it raised 30 million. And I think next year it's probably going to go almost another 30 or 20 or something. Like, it's going to keep increasing. So when you're starting to, like, look ahead, and I'm sure he has an idea the next couple of years, when you start re-signing some of these players, like, you're going to have to re-sign Hutch, right? Guess what? Cap's going to be higher in a couple of years when you have to do that in Kirby and some of these dudes. So I think he's looking at that saying, like, I think, like, when we have these conversations, we're like, well, he's not going to get a big time contract because he has to re-sign Hutch. No, like, he will, because he knows what the cap's going to be, and he knows that this is going to go up, and you have the money to kind of be flexible with. I just think it's like you're in this window where you have to go win a Super Bowl. The Booner path, like, I want a Super Bowl. Go get someone to help you win a Super Bowl. I'm all bought in on that now.
And I get where you're coming from, because that's something that I've spoken about. That I think there's windows in the NFL. I think the Lions their window's just starting. So, did Brad know? I see people commenting this, right? Did Brad know that the cap was going to go up this much? Probably not. But he knew the cap was going to go up. Every GM, they always project things, right? They project the cap space. I just don't know. And maybe he does sign somebody to a significant deal. I don't know. Knowing who Brad is, I think it's smart short-term contracts. He improves this football team. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to Jared Goff. I'm curious what they do with Jared in terms of, do they front load his contract and then you eat cap space up front, and then they, on the back end of it, you're a lot more cap friendly? Or do you backload it, push most of his salary, most of the cap hit? I'm curious what he does. Like, Brad, he's going to get in the kitchen soon. But we got more donations coming thugh from people. I mean, we got AB, who just gifted 5 Crunch members.
Shout out.
Man, thank you,
AB.
AB.
Not Antonio Brown.
And then Steve Wilds donates $20. Says to contribute to Booner to get a real haircut.
Hey, Booner, you haven't showed it in a couple of episodes.
Yeah, show the haircut, Boone.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, I'm letting it grow out a little bit more. I cut the back of it. I don't want to show the people.
No,
I'm
Booner.
just kidding. I didn't cut the
Yeah.
back of it.
Come on.
There you go, Boone.
Hey.
Don't be like that, Booner. Don't be shy.
There you go.
Hey, but boys, I think a perspective to watch about this too,
looks
and
good,
like, yeah,
boys.
it does sound nice that the Lions and every NFL team has $30 more million to spend, but then the players are thinking, oh, so like the Danielle Hunters of the world, the Brian Burns, the Josh Allens, the L'Jarius Sneeds, they're gonna be like, okay, well, now I can command a little bit more money from you guys. So I think it's gradually like, yeah, it's raising the cap market, but it's also going to raise the money that the players command. So I think it's all just going to be very rational to what it has been in the past. So I don't think it's like, oh, we just get a, like, and I'm not saying that any of you guys are saying this, but like, oh, we just get another player because of this. Like, no, that one player is probably going to command $5 to $10 more million now.
That's why, like, I still think like an Amon-Ra, I still think you get him for 25. I think that's kind of like a good number. I truly, I just read an article today and they had him listed at 24 million. So I still think he gets around that 25 million. What really happens though, like looking down the line, when you extend Jared Goff and Panay and Amon-Ra, like with Panay, you're going to probably reset that offensive line market, like most likely, right? Because of all of this, but in the couple years, it's going to look like nothing because this cap's going to keep moving. So, like, when I have these conversations about Jared Goff and his contract, that's the thing I try and explain to some people is you're going to sign him for 45, 50 million this year. Guess what? They're going to probably restructure throughout. Like, they've already done it with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. He signed for like 50 or 60 million a year, and he's already down, I think, to like 45 in a cap hit per year. Like, it's like you can move that around. And on top of that, the cap's going to go up. And these guys' contracts that are getting extended this year, Jared Goff, it's not going to look like anything in a year or two. Like, it will not look bad at all. And you're going to be happy that you got him at 45, 50 million. So I like and it going up 30 right now when you're about to re-sign these guys. I kind of like that as long as they stay to where they're at right now. I don't know if that makes sense.
Remember when Matt Ryan was the first $30 million quarterback? You guys get like, so to Lucas's point, like these quarterback like it's not just quarterbacks, but every other position, like
they're all going to go up. Panay is going to have the highest contract in offensive line history.
You're going to see 1 year a quarterback get close to $100 million. Like that's a real thing. There will be quarterbacks that are taking $60, $70 million a year.
60 will probably happen. I'm trying to think
because they're already at 50 plus. So
I could see 60 happening. Like there's not really maybe Kirk Cousins if he signed somewhere like a 3-year, $180 million deal. Jesus. Like I could see something like that happening. Yeah, especially with this cap jump.
Yeah, I can as well. I want to ask the question, guys. Like,
I mean, Burrow's at 55 already.
Yeah, someone's gonna hit 60. I want to ask you guys and ask the chat this: what in your eyes would be we always talk about the optimistic offseason, right? What needs to go right in your eyes and the chats? What would be a disappointing offseason to you? And you can describe that however you want it. It's an open-ended question. You can go to the draft, free agency, whatever it is. What would be a disappointing offseason to you?
I mean, me personally, I think it would start with losing if they don't address the cornerback room. And I should say if they just do not address the defenses that they need. They obviously need a cornerback. They obviously need a defensive end. So if you leave those two unattached to anything else, then I just think that's a loss, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, as far as free agency goes in general, just playing it too safe. Like, obviously, you want to continue to build through the draft, and he said that. But there is a time and a point where you got to go out and get some dogs in free agency. So I just don't want to see a bunch of safe contracts, some like Emmanuel Mosley, like play it out contracts, see how you do. Like, you got to go out and get some for real players now. So just playing it too safe.
I'm with Mike on that. Like, it's not just playing it. I get what Mike's saying because I think when people hear that, they're like, well, that's what Brad. I think to Mike's point, if you leave free agency and you're like, wow, you didn't really upgrade that much at corner, like, or you didn't really get Hutch another guy to pair with Hutch that's worth anything, or you don't have confidence in, like, that would be disappointing. I think the defense, and I saw someone put that here. I'm gonna put some comments up while we're kind of talking about it. In here, I'm going to find the one that talked about that. Oh, Eduardo. He said not fixing the defense, which I don't think he doesn't. I don't think there's a scenario in which he doesn't do anything, but not doing to what we really expect. Does that make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, and that was where I was going to go with it. It's literally you're coming off and I'm going to say the Booner Pat again. I know people probably drink it when I say that, but like you're coming off the whole Booner Pat thing and like an NFC championship appearance when you should have been in the Super Bowl. You have the most money to spend out of all of the playoff teams that were in the playoffs this last year and competed, and you have 4 top 100 picks. I'm at like this whole splash thing, and I keep seeing it in the comments. I think Brad Holmes has to go out there and make a splat. Like you have to make like a big time move in my opinion. And I think if you don't, to me, it's almost disappointing. Like, I think you have to go out and get a big time player. You have to make a trade with some of those picks you have, maybe. Like, go out there and make a move to go win a Super Bowl next year. You cannot fall short next year and look back at this offseason and be like, man, I wish Brad would have gone and got a big time DN to go with touch, or man, I wish he would have got that corner because we didn't have a corner again. Like, you can't have that going into next year. Like, when the playoffs come around next year, you should have had a big time splash in the offseason and potentially at the trade deadline, knowing that, hey, we're going to go win a Super Bowl. And if he doesn't make that splash, I think that's kind of a little bit like that's a little disappointing to me. Like, last year, I felt like that CJ one was it, but you weren't at that contending area yet. This year, you have to make one, I think. And I think Brad, like, this is a Brad we haven't seen yet because we haven't been in this position.
Yeah, and as far as like the defensive end goes and really the cornerbacks, I just be proactive rather than reactive. You don't want to go too late in the season right before the deadline. You're scrambling for players and you have to get shafted on a trade, giving up too much, giving up whatever draft picks or whatnot, because you want to stick to your plan with building through the draft. So go out there and get your dog through free agency. And, you don't want to wait too late and then opportunity's gone.
And it's funny because when we talked, it's funny hearing Booner now be like all for getting somebody, because Booner, when we brought up some guys, okay, so I see, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to like get you or anything. I'm just saying it's interesting now that you get that, like you get the time. It's true. But can I ask you this though? Because this is where me and you we agree with that statement, but I want to specifically ask you this. What does splash mean to you? Because you mentioned CJ Gardner-Johnson, 1-year deal, $7-8 million. To me, that's a splash. Do you really think Brad's going to go out and sign a guy to a 4-year, close to that's whatever it is, like a big time deal? Is that what you mean? Or are you just talking about the player?
No, okay. I mean, Jarius Sneed, a Daniil Hunter, like one of these players that we have brought up on this show. I think you have to go at least make an attempt, right? Like, at least go out there and say, hey, I'm going to try and go get this guy. Like, make an attempt at it to build that deal. You have to. And I know I'm really big on the whole 5-year plan, and I'm with the 5-year plan. I still think the Lions could go win 2 Super Bowls in the next 6 years. But I just think while you're in, this is to you, Jeff. Like, you should be like, hey, Booner, like you're on my side now, because
no, that's not.
I'm with you short, but I'm with you. I'm with you on the point to where it's like you do have to win in the next couple of years. Like, you just proven that you can almost go to the Super Bowl. It's time to go do it. I keep saying 2 Super Bowls in 6 years, and I mean that. Doing that, and now that the salary cap is up, like today changed a lot. Having 30 more million, and you're at 65 million cap, and then it's going to go up next year. That changes a lot. That changes the NFL way more than I think people realize.
Well, and this is where we disagree. Is I don't think Brad's going to do that because of what he said at the end of the season. And the reason why, this is where me and you are maybe this is where we disagree. Because remember we brought up Hassan Reddick, what was the biggest point that and Lucas, you agreed there too, about Hassan Reddick? He had 1 year left on his deal. And that's what intrigued me. Like, you go get him, he helps you, and then you're not committed to him. Now, if we're talking giving somebody, a Daniil Hunter, who's an incredible player, but I don't see Brad going out and throwing a max contract at any of these guys. I just don't. I think they can still improve without going out and spending a lot of money on a big time player, knowing how well Brad drafts, you're going to have to re-sign your own. That's where I'm at. Like,
I'm interested to see that then. What type of players that is then?
We mentioned like a Leonard Floyd, right? Short term, he could help you. Like, I just don't see a Sneed. I don't see a Jalen Johnson. I don't see a Daniil Hunter. I just don't. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at.
Which I think is fair. I think there's other ways to make splashes. Like, in make a trade. Go get a player, like you said. Maybe the Hassan Reddick situation,
like
a
rental
player like that. Maybe go do that. But I do think there has to be something done now with the cap situation to where now you really don't have to worry about all of this money. You don't have to worry about going over. You don't have to sit there and be like, you have the space to kind of, you have the freedom now. The Lions have the most freedom out of every playoff team now. Every playoff team.
And I get the whole thing what Brad said and how he doesn't really do those splash trades. I've seen a few people bring it up, not everyone's a Detroit Lion. And I get that, but there comes a certain point where you have to go out and get that type of guy. And maybe the guys that were out there in the past weren't, and maybe there's some guys right now that he feels that he can take a leap on. So I get that and what he said, but I don't like hold that to be true in all scenarios. Like, I don't think just because he said that, like, he's never going to go out and make a splash deal or sign someone. Like, eventually you do go out and do that as a team. Like, just because he says it doesn't mean it's good forever. Like, he's never making a splash.
Like, Lucas, think about it like this. Like the 49ers, we talked about it a lot. Me and you, especially when we were at our former employer, but the Chase Young stuff, right?
Mhm.
The 49ers made a splash by getting Chase Young, but guess what? He's just going to walk away in free agency. They're not committed to him long term. Like that's raw man instead of, versus spending, 25+ million on a big time free agent.
I mean, yeah, and it obviously depends on the player's age as well. Like if they're younger players in their mid-20s, they're going to be looking for a 3-4 year deal. But you bring up a guy like Alex Van Ginkel, who we can laugh at sometimes, but you talk about bringing a guy off the edge that can also, he played on-ball linebacker as well for Miami. So he's a guy that's not going to command a whole lot of money, but you want to talk about making a difference. And Leonard Floyd's, those aren't splash signings, but when you look at what they're going to produce on the field, you'd be like, oh my God, David Montgomery was not a splash signing. That dude ran for 1,000 yards and got you 10+ touchdowns this year, and he was just a stud for the Lions. Those are splash signings when you look at him on the field. Maybe not in the free agent headlinings because L'Jarius Sneed staying in Kansas City for 5 years and X amount of dollars. It does not matter what type of players they get, in my opinion, as far as if they're 5-star or 3-stars, but just get upgraded players that have experience.
So Lucas, I'll agree and disagree with you on that. Like David Montgomery, like those moves I think are not like big time, but those are splash in my opinion. Like I remember when we got David Montgomery last year, like, it was a big deal. And I when I say splash, I guess I mean like as well as there's two sides to it. There's the side to where it's, hey, you can go get out a big time player, but then there's a side to where maybe you can go get now 4 or 5 really good players who can make big impacts like David Montgomery did. And though that's like a big splash of free agency as a whole, not just a big splash. I see what you're saying is I know I'm going to Neil Hunter. I'm going
L'Jarius Sneed.
And I would love for one of that to happen. But at the same time, it's, hey, if he doesn't go that route, go get us 4 or 5 dudes that are big time players like a David Montgomery. And if you get like a group of guys like that, I've been saying this all the last 3 weeks. What's the biggest number? What's the saying for the offseason? Fill the holes, baby. Fill the holes. And that's if he goes and gets like, if you can go get 4 or 5 better dudes instead of one dude, I'm in for that. I think that's just a splash that Brad knows he can do and can help you win. And then at the trade deadline, if there's something that doesn't work out, then you can make your move from there. But yeah, I think there's 2 sides of it. There's 2 sides of it. And whatever Brad does, like we're going to find a lot about Brad Holmes this offseason. We're going to find out what he's all about and like which kind of direction he's taking this team, because this is like the time where you're a Super Bowl contender now. Are you going to go all in for a year or 2, or are you going to go all in for the next 4 or 5 years and you're going to kind of play it a little safer? And we're going to find that out in the next kind of month here.
Yeah. And kind of to backtrack, Jeff, I know you said the 49ers like trading with Chase Young, and obviously that's not much of a splash trade because, like you said, he might walk away, but they did trade for Christian McCaffrey. So like it's not like they didn't see their window and they like didn't go seize the opportunity to make their team better. So like there is teams that will go out there and make that splash.
And I get that. That's true. I think the difference, though, with the 49ers in doing that is, at the time, and now they have Brock Purdy, who's, and he's on a cheap contract. So it's like, but you're all right. Like that's how I looked at it, Mike. When he said splash, that's what popped into my head. Like, will they trade for that caliber or sign that caliber of player?
Yeah.
And
I mean, they have guys like that. That's the thing is like this Lions team does have guys, in my opinion, like Jahmyr Gibbs and like Sam Laporta now and Amon-Ra. Like you have dudes. It's just about like, can you fill these holes and make a splash where you kind of need it to happen? Like if they did bring a L'Jarius Sneed in, I don't think anyone here is going to be mad. I really don't. So that's right.
I was going to say Elgato. She donates $2. She says, Booner speaking facts. Brad has to bust. Okay. Oh, bust a nut. That's how you describe it. Yeah. You guys read the comment. You get what I'm saying though when it comes to that. It's, hey, he's going to make a move in the next month, and if he does bring a L'Jarius Sneed in, I'm not going to sit here and be mad. Like the cap just went up, you have money to spend, and he spent it, and he made a move in probably the number 1 position group you need help in. Well,
so I'm not mad. I wouldn't be mad.
Luckily, we have somebody here who can help us solve all these questions we have. And he's
Let's
a good
go,
friend
baby.
of ours. And of course, he covers the Detroit Pistons. He covers the Lions. He does everything for MLive. That's our good friend, Kory Woods. Kory, welcome to the show.
What's going on? What's going on? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're good,
yeah.
Corey. I
All
want to
right,
say,
great.
number one, we appreciate you. Corey, of course, like I said, covers Pistons Lions for MLive. Corey, how you feeling tonight?
Tired. I got a 1-year-old, so it's kicking my butt, but it's all good.
Yeah, we need like a mental health checkup on you, man. I mean, you go from the Lions, the NFC Championship game, and then you go right over to what the Pistons are at this point.
Yeah, that was definitely a drastic change. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no, and we're happy to have you. Obviously, we're breaking down Lions offseason with Corey. And Corey, I want to ask you kind of what we've been talking about, and I think you'd be the perfect person to ask this. Is what kind of, in your opinion, knowing and being around Brad, being in the building, what kind of offseason do you see Brad Holmes doing, or the Lions doing, but with Brad Holmes? Because we talk about splash signings. The cap just went up $30 million. Which direction do you think Brad goes, right? Short term, smart contracts to improve this football team, or do you think he goes out and maybe gets a big fish?
You know, that's interesting that you asked that question. I honestly am not sure, and here's why. We've seen Brad go ahead and make like the small, sensible signings. Like you saw they got Cam Sutton last year on the 3 year, 33 million deal. The Emmanuel Mosley signing, it made sense. That was almost like a prove-it deal. Same thing with CJ Gardner-Johnson. But what you did see though is this team was pretty devoid of two of those pieces. With Mosley was gone and with the CJ Gardner gone for most of the year. So what I'm saying is like those guys were gone and you were still able to create a team that was good enough to make the NFC Championship. And now that they were 2 quarters away from making it, I think that they might go out and make a splash this year instead of just trying to do another Band-Aid type thing. I think that's what you saw last year. They're just trying to make the best out of what was available. But now I think with them knowing that they were just 2 quarters away from reaching the franchise's first Super Bowl, I think they're going to try to make some type of splash signing. I don't know what the Panthers are going to do about Brian Burns. I know he's asking for about $30 million a year. I'm pretty sure they might franchise tag him if they could do that. But I mean, I think they're going to spend some money.
Oh, okay.
I like to hear that, Corey. Man, hey, nice to see you. I don't know if we've ever actually met, but it's good to meet you. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
Question I had here, and I've been talking about this for a few months now, is kind of this long-term thing here with the Lions and Brad Holmes. It feels like they're building something different, like the 49ers, like something more long-term than just like a short-term. Do you see, and you're in the building all the time, so I'm sure you gotta have a pretty good feel on it. Do you feel like this is something that could kind of withstand and last for the next 5, 6, 7 years? Or is this something that's like, hey, like we need a Super Bowl next year, or the time's done? Is this like a long-term thing here going on in Detroit?
I think what you're seeing right now is something that is going to be sustainable for the next couple of years. I mean, first off, you have to look at how they built this thing. It started at 3-13-1, then you go to 9-8, then you go to 12-5, and you're getting these guys to the NFC Championship again, 2 quarters away from the Lions reaching their first Super Bowl. And I think that is because by hook or crook, whatever you want to say about the way they've built this team, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have been, along with Mike Disner and Chris Spielman and Sheila Hamp, they've been really intentional about this culture thing. And you've seen it work. So to go from what they had with Matt Patricia and the culture there was just totally bad. I think they've gone in a real overcorrection by how they're trying to do things by focusing more on the culture as opposed to trying to go out there and make some home run moves to get some guys that maybe have the talent but don't fit the culture. I think they've been really going in this culture fit because it has to have some type of foundation to what you said, long-term and sustainable. Now that you have this foundation built, you may be able to go out there and start making some of those home run moves to be able to absolve guys into the culture that you've already built. It was still kind of, I don't want to say it was shaky, but you only had 2 seasons of it. You needed to go ahead and get that 3rd season of it. And now you got that 3rd season of it by showing, hey, the Lions can be a place that I can go to and win. Free agents are going to be able to say that now because when have you ever seen a Lions team in your lifetime look like this? A lot of people have it. So I think that was really intentional. I think it was really important how they set the culture, and I think it's going to be something long term now that they have some type of base and foundation to be able to sell.
I like that.
Corey, and I agree with what a lot you just said. And you brought up the foundation. It's nice finally meeting you. But a huge part of
Likewise.
this foundation, especially going forward, is the rookies that they brought in this year, the Sam Laportas, the Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell. Which one of those rookies do you think really takes a next step next season and really helps the Lions kind of be able to reach to the exact point that they want to get to?
I think the one guy you want to take that next step is Jack Campbell. I mean, you've already seen what Jahmyr Gibbs can do, 1,000 yards from scrimmage in this year. Sam Laporta, all pro. I mean, it's only going up for those two guys. So
Right.
I think the guy you want to take that next step is Jack Campbell. He did end the season with second in tackles for the team, so that was good. You start to see him come along. Aaron Glenn talks glowingly about him, about how he's kind of like a surly guy, like he takes himself real seriously, but it's because he's all about the game of football. So I think that's the guy that people should want to see take that next step as far as just an all-around player, his defensive IQ and attention to detail.
Kory, thanks for joining us. Nice talking to you, man. Catching up. Obviously, Josh Reynolds had a somewhat solid season, pretty solid. Him, Goff, their chemistry together. What are the chances, do you think, they bring Josh Reynolds back? And if not, what do they do to fill that vacancy?
I think that they are probably going to look and see what the free agent landscape is like. But I think you want to bring a guy like Josh Reynolds back. For one, he has the continuity with Jared Goff from their time with the Rams now to here. Granted, it was not his greatest showing in the NFC Championship, but he had, if I'm not mistaken, this is what his career best year, or it's either his career best year or second best year. I know that towards the end, he was trending towards it. And Josh Reynolds is a big part of the reason of the Lions' success this year. He has made a lot of clutch plays for this team. And that is a guy that Dan Campbell also really speaks highly of for his work ethic, for his attention to detail, how he comes and prepares himself. So I think that he's a guy that they might bring back, but they're also going to look at the free agents landscape to see if there is a way they can improve, or even maybe through the draft. Because at that end of season meeting, Dan Campbell said something that was really interesting that I kind of hung on, and we'll see if it kind of rears its head during this free agency. He said that they're going to have to make some tough decisions, even with guys that they really like. And Reynolds is one of those guys that they really like. So it could be a thing where I believe if there's not an upgrade out there that they can bring in, I could see him coming back, but I could also see it being a guy where it's like, hey, you never know. Might better move on.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kory. Especially speaking of, at least we're talking re-signing guys, but on the conversation of extensions, Jared Goff, St. Brown, Penei Sewell, I think the resume speaks for itself there. If I had to ask you, Kory, over under 2.5, if you have Goff, St. Brown, Penei, over under 2.5 on how many of these deals get done this season or this offseason. You think all three, or you think at least one of those guys? Because that's the big conversation. I've seen people talking, if they don't get these deals done, there'll be a little bit of worry, and they're all going to get paid. But what say you?
He said under 2.5.
Yeah, you think all three get their deal done?
Not all three.
Okay.
I think St. Brown and St. Brown and Sewell get their deals done. I don't think Goff does.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, wow.
Why do you say that? What makes you say that? I've never heard that yet, so that's interesting.
First off, look at St. Brown's production from year to year to year. It's been nothing but steady progression to the fact that if he's not mentioned as one of the top 5 wide receivers in the league next year, what are we doing here? You do not. I mean, you pay St. Brown now before you have to pay him even more moving forward. And you don't want to. And the thing is, you don't want to camp holdout. Give him his money. This guy has definitely proved it. This is a guy that chip on his shoulder is real. After every practice, he's on that jugs machine. Khalif Raymond is a lot of times he's there with them, but this is a guy that you cannot lose. He is not only a team leader by how he speaks, but team leader on example of how he plays on the field. You don't want to lose a guy like that. Penei Sewell, I mean,
yeah, right.
Do we have to go with? I mean, yeah. So I mean, we need to just get it done. Yeah. So when it comes to Jared Goff, it's not that Jared Goff does not deserve his money. It's just that you have everything else in place. Depends on how Hendon Hooker looks in this upcoming training camp. They really do like him. And you got to remember, if Hooker did not get injured in college, he would not have been there when the Lions selected him. So there is that. If this guy comes back healthy, you might be looking at an interesting situation. And again, it's not no knock on Jared Goff, not to say that he doesn't deserve his money. But again, this is also a position that if Hooker is well, or maybe if the Lions make some kind of move, maybe that is a position you can upgrade or move on from and maybe get somebody else to come in there and take the spot without everyone have to give Goff all of that money. Kind of like, I guess maybe this may not be the greatest example, but when the Seattle Seahawks decided to move on from Russell Wilson to turn the reins over to Geno Smith. I mean, Geno's been doing a heck of a good job, all things considered. So you never know. But I think St. Brown, Sewell, got to get him done. Goff, I mean, let's see what happens.
Oh, okay.
I like
that.
That's it. I like it. It's interesting. Hey, Kory, too. I think one of the biggest things too this offseason, the storyline so far, Ben Johnson, AG both returning for next season. I think that was huge. I mean, a couple months ago, I thought both of them were gone and getting head coaching positions. Now they're both coming back. How big of a deal do you think that is for this Lions team? Especially to me, I think on this defense, getting AG back for another year, and now he's probably going to get some players to kind of not develop, but some more big time pieces on that defense. How big and a big of a step forward do you think that defense takes with AG?
I think both of those guys coming back is very big because continuity. You do not want to mess up continuity if you do not have to. I think Ben Johnson coming back is going to be. I gotta be careful how I say this. I think how. I think Ben Johnson coming back could be something like a revenge tour. I'm just going to go ahead and say it because it's unfinished business. It's right at the door. It wasn't his best game that he called in that NFC Championship. There were a lot of question marks. I believe that they ran, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they ran the ball like around 7 times in that second half.
Oh, it was bad.
It was bad. So I think that he wants to come back and correct that. Then, maybe after they leave, then you can possibly go on to a coaching job or not. But I think he's going to come. I think him coming back is very important, not only for the offense, but for it's not only just for Jared Goff, but for St. Brown, for Sam Laporta, for David Montgomery. Those guys were able to take another step moving forward. For Aaron Glenn, I think Aaron Glenn gets a bad rap. I think that you have to look at the injuries that secondary has suffered, which is why they had a lot of the problems they did. You have to look at the fact that the Josh Pascal thing is kind of hit or miss sometimes. He hasn't really been there the way that they expected him to be playing opposite Aiden. So I think if you be able to give Aaron Glenn some more pieces to work with, he's able to go ahead and have his secondary healthy for most of the season, which he did not have this year. Then you'll be able to see, I believe, that true AG stamp on his defense come out. Get him some pieces and keep these guys healthy.
No, I agree with you. We're going to see a lot of changes on the defense, but I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the NFC North as well, Kory. You talk about Kirk Cousins possibly leaving Minnesota. Looks like that's going to happen. Caleb Williams possibly going to Chicago, and then just the emergence of the Packers. Which team outside of the Detroit Lions in the NFC North do you think has a chance to contend to really push for a high seed in the NFC playoffs coming next year?
Packers.
What's the threat level, Kory? What's the threat level?
I don't know. I have no idea how they've done this for 30 straight years. Just get the quarterback correct. I think the threat level to not go too far, I would say the threat level, if you're skating like the 10 is the highest,
yeah,
I would say threat level right now is at a 7.
Okay.
It's at a 7. It's at a 7. Jordan Love showed over that back end of the season that he can ball. And I mean, he's one mistake away from it being a Lions home game, possibly for the NFC Championship. So, I mean, this guy is only going to learn from his mistakes and get even better. He's shown that Who knows? He may not be Brett Favre. He may not be Aaron Rodgers. But guess what? To be successful in the NFL, you don't have to beat those guys. Those guys are revered as they are for a reason. All he has to be is just good. And Jordan Love has shown that he is good. He can get outside the pocket when he needs to. He throws a pretty accurate, nasty ball. I mean, the threat level for the Lions, they have to worry about that guy. And also see what the Packers are going to do with their defense as well. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Jair Alexander, if they're going to be able to bring him back or not, but they're still going to be solid no matter what. But Packers, yeah.
All right, Kory, obviously we got the NFL draft coming up. The Lions do have some positions to fill. What is the biggest position of need in your eyes going into the draft?
Do you really want to hear that one? Because nobody is going to agree with me, and I'm prepared for it because I got my notes already set to the side.
Okay.
Kicker.
Oh. Okay.
Where do you think they should approach it in the draft? What round?
So last year, the San Francisco 49ers got Jake Moody at number 99. Lions have 2 picks in the 3rd round. They have a pick at us at number 92. That is where I believe they should go ahead and go draft their kicker for moving forward. I know they re-signed Badgley, but look, here's the thing that you have to think about. The Lions are, for all practical purposes, they could add more depth on their offense at all positions. But they need a kicker. Michael Badgley, this guy was on the practice squad for most of the season for a reason. Mm-hmm. Last year, you saw the 49ers take Jake Moody at number 99. And look, he missed some kicks throughout the year. Is he rookie? It's okay. But you also seen him make some big kicks for them as well. The Lions did not, outside of the kick he made at AT&T Stadium and the one he made at Ford Field against the Rams, Michael Badgley has not kicked well beyond 50 yards in games. It's inside of domes, yeah. Outside of that, no. So I think at number 92, they should go ahead and draft their kicker for the future. I believe they just brought back Badgley just for an insurance policy. I got a couple of guys that I was already talking about in October when they had this kicker issue because I saw it coming. If you look up top kickers to watch on an MLive article, I already predicted this scenario with the Lions and the kickers. I already predicted this scenario. Here are 3 guys that I think they should look at number 92. Joshua Cardi out of Stanford. From this season, from 0 to 39, he was 12 for 13. On 50-plus yard kicks, he was 4 for 7 with a long of 56. Last year, he nailed a 61-yarder, so the guy has a big leg. Another one is Cam Little out of Arkansas, 20 for 24 this season, 9 for 12 on kicks between 40 to 50-plus yards, nailed a 56-yarder, which is his career long, and he nailed all 33 of his extra point attempts this season. Those are 2 guys that I will probably get at number 92 or 92 if available. But if they go in the later rounds and decide to get a guy that you want to take a chance on, maybe around in that fifth round or later, see if Harrison Mevis is out there from Missouri. He has some struggles a little bit between 40 to 59 yards this year, but he's 3 of 5 from kicks from 50 yards out. Also nailed a 61-yarder as well. I think they need to go ahead and go grab that kicker for the future and groom him.
Kory, real quick, Jeff, before you go, Kory, I'm with you on that. I've said that on here a couple of times, that kicker is a position of need. I don't get 5th round. The Missouri kid, Lucas brought him up to me. The Alabama kicker, I'm in on getting the kicker. Look at
not in the 3rd. Not in the 3rd. That's
maybe not in the 3rd, but
that's where I get lost.
Hey,
the 49ers, the Chiefs, these guys have kickers, man. You need a kicker.
I mean, that's why I said the 49ers, they got their guy in the 3rd round.
Yep.
I said if you're gonna reach, go to get a kicker. Those are the 2 I would get. But if you want to go in the 5th round to get a guy, I would say get Harrison. But getting a kicker has to be one of their biggest things because they did not trust Michael Badgley, and it was shown. This guy was cut before training camp. He went to the Washington Commanders for I believe he went to the Washington Commanders. He went to the back to Tennessee Titans, and then he came back to this team and stayed on the practice squad until December 16th. There is a reason that they need to go ahead and improve at kicker. So, I mean, I think if they go ahead and prioritize kicking, you can go ahead and not be Dan Gamble all of the time. Some of the time they were Dan Gamble because it just appeared. They have to come out and say it themselves. I don't want to speak for them, but it just appeared they did not trust Michael Bashley.
Mike, you got a follow up? You want to ask?
No, I was just going to ask kind of a little bit of what you just said. Obviously, Dan Campbell, we've seen his aggressive ways. Do you think if they finally get that kicker, does he change his ways up? Do you see them taking more field goals, or do you still think he's going to stick to that strategy of going for it a lot?
Especially with higher expectations, Kory. Much higher expectations.
I think that he's still going to be Dan Gamble when appropriate, but I also think he's going to play the odds better where they will just go ahead and take the field goal. Because, I mean, you got to think about it. They kicked field goals when they were in Michael Badgley's range. But when they had to step out to like that 40 plus, that's when you start to see them really gamble a lot. So I think that they gambled just because Dan Campbell's a gambler and because out of necessity. Do you want to go ahead and put a guy out there that you have not trusted in those situations all year, or do you want to stick with your gut and keep going what you've been doing in gambling?
Yeah. I think you nailed it, Kory. I want to say thank you. I know we kept you a little longer, so I appreciate you taking the time tonight.
Shout out.
You can check Kory out on all social media at Kory E. Woods. He covers the Pistons, and the Lions, two drastically different franchises right now for MLive. You can check out all his work at MLive.com. Kory, we got to have you on again, man. We appreciate you, man. Much love to you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks
Kory.
a lot.
All right, there you go. Kory Woods, man, the one, the only. He nailed that. And honestly, this is why I say this a lot, guys. I say it after every guess. Some more things we don't really talk about. I know the kicker in the third round, you didn't like it, Lucas, but I'm talking about the Jared Goff extension, though. Like
the Jared Goff one, that's a big one.
Because he does have a year left. Like, he's not really like that.
He can still play on it.
That wasn't egregious for him to say that.
I mean, easy put in the chat too. It's like Lamar almost had to play through a contract year as well, basically. So like there are guys who do it. It's not like I think all of us are kind of like, hey, let's lock in, get Jared Goff done. The only reason I would like it to get done is just so you have a little bit of like you have a feeling like, hey, you got this guy locked in for a couple years. You know who you're running with. That's where I'm at with it. But to his point too, like what if you do lock him up? And this is just like a Booner hypothetical in my head. What if you do lock him up and Hendon Hooker comes out and is extremely good, and then you locked him up, and now you're sitting there with the Hendon Hooker who's like a legit dude, and it's like, now what do you do? But I still think, I personally, I think the deal is done in the next couple months. I still think the deal gets done. Now, if it doesn't, then, but I see that side of it. I still think the deal gets done, and he has an extension in the next couple months. Personally, that's where I'm at with it.
I do too. I think
my thing is with
Brad's
all of this is just that if the Lions, I think for Brad, to your point with the Hendon Hooker situation, it makes even more sense to sign Goff now rather than in the future. Because think we just talked about the cap jumped up 30 this year. You don't know what is going to jump up next year. So if you wait and to re-sign Jared Goff, it's going to be significantly more of a cap hit if you wait and decide to re-sign him next year. So let's say you sign Jared Goff now. You have that great problem that Hendon Hooker's good and so is Jared Goff. You got to move off one. Well, you're probably going to move off of Jared Goff, and if you're going to trade him, you want his salary cap to be lower. So to sign him now, in my opinion, makes much more sense. But we'll see what they do. Kory's points they weren't ignorant whatsoever. They make a lot of sense if you think about it. But as far as the back end of Jared Goff's tenure, that's what it makes more sense for.
Yeah, I think too with the whole Goff stuff, like, and I saw this comment here. I want to just address it and just kind of give a different perspective here. Xavier D says not extending Goff is bad for the locker room. I mean, Lamar played on a franchise tag, and they played well. So
and you won't even have to franchise tag him. He has a whole nother year.
Yeah, and again, exactly. That's the point too. Is he has one more year left on his contract. I think if he doesn't extend Goff, which I think we all expect him to, but let's just say in this scenario he doesn't and he waits, he has a year left on his deal. I think Goff, regardless, is going to play because he's confident in his abilities. He wants to be out there. And it's actually not bad it's not a bad business move from Brad. Like, you get to see Hendon. If he stinks, cool. We'll get the contract done with Jared Goff. if Jared Goff regresses, you have a way out. Not saying he will, but it's just from like a GM standpoint. Like I'm not going to say that. Like, it's not like egregious. Like Brad has to get the deal done, or I'm going to be upset about it. Like he has a year left on his deal. Like,
again, I think it gets done though. Like I'll die on the hill. I do think that the deal is done in the next couple months. They've already been having conversations. They had conversations during the season, and they just waited until after. So I think they're going to get a deal done.
Yeah, and I don't think Jared's the type of player to let a contract bleed into the locker room and let it become a problem. I mean, he kind of seen it all year. He was just putting his head down and playing. So I just couldn't see that becoming a problem with him.
Hey, shout out to Kory for bringing up the kicker thing, because I've brought that up a couple times. Not the third round, but just adding a kicker, and I actually have it in our notes for a segment later. I like that. I'm going to keep dying on that you bring a kicker in. Either the UFL or draft a guy in the fifth.
Yeah,
like,
I'm with you. I think bring a kicker in for sure, but I'm not all the way to the point where it's like, oh, Dan automatically is going to tame down his fourth down play calling.
I think if you get a guy that's reliable, that's just automatically, like you don't have I think that's just a fact at the end of the day. It's like if you don't have a guy that's reliable, you're always not going to, but
yeah,
you to a point, but like it does change a little bit.
Yeah,
and I do think if he had a rookie out there, it would kind of be like the same. Like he wouldn't always trust him in situations, and he would kind of have to ease more into it. And I think he would still be aggressive at first if that was the case.
That's fair too.
Yeah, I would hope that Dan, there's a point where he's like, you know what, we got a better kicker, we got a better defense. Let's take less risks. But honestly, knowing Dan, and I just don't. I think he'll still take. It's kind of like what Kory said. It'll be like timely risks, or it's not all the time, but there'll be times where he goes for it, times where he don't. That's fair. Adaptability.
At least kick it from 40 to 45.
Yeah,
at least kick it from like 40 to like get a kicker that can do that, and then as he gets better, you can kind of extend that range, and you can actually get maybe attempt a 50-yard field goal. Like we're in the NFL. Like this isn't like Division II, or this isn't like this isn't high
what's
school.
wrong with that, Booner?
I was in Division II, so I'm just saying, like, and shout out to, I know a couple Division II kickers. Shout out to fellas. But like what I'm saying, it's like you should be able to hit a 50-yarder in the NFL. Like there's no reason you can't have an NFL kicker who, when you get past the 40, you have to question that. Like that and you're supposed to contend for a Super Bowl. Like that's idiotic. Like that's just not right. Like you're in the NFL, you're supposed to be the best of the best, and you don't have a guy that can kick a ball 50 yards. Let me try and kick a 50-yarder. Something, man. But like, what are we doing here that we literally don't have a kicker that can kick the ball 50 yards? Well, I mean, what are we doing? Like, you have to fix that. And I get the percentages, and I know there's people out there. I know Adam at some point says like he doesn't want to, like he doesn't think the kicker was a problem. Like, dude, you're in the NFL. If you don't have a kicker that can kick 45 plus, that's an issue. That's part of a team. You score 3 points off that, and 3 points in a game is a lot of points in the NFL. All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know why I'm getting so worked up over a kicker, but
and he said like the third round for a kicker. Is there even any kickers that are worth it? I know we haven't really deep dive into kickers that much. Is there any studs in this draft? Lucas?
I don't think, and I'm sorry, but I don't think a kicker is ever worth a third round pick. I don't care if it's Adam Vinatieri, Justin Tucker. I don't care.
I'll take Justin Tucker in the third round.
If you have a secondary that
draft
went
pool
out
right
there
now, I'll take
year,
him in the first.
If you have a secondary that was just like the Detroit Lions this year, there's no way you take a kicker in the third round. There's no way. The San Francisco 49ers had numerous All-Pros last year and have drafted well for years. They didn't have a first-round pick either, so they were like, you know what? We're just going to go and get a kicker. That's really our only need right now, and that's why they could do it. They had an incredible foundation that's already in their prime. The Detroit Lions,
tell you what,
get another wave of talent, then maybe next year go ahead and do that, but I'd rather just sign a veteran.
I'll tell you what, though, if you would have put Michael Badgley and replaced him for Harrison Butker or Jake Moody, guess what? Whatever team he gets put on, they're losing that football game. I'll guarantee you that. So, like, kicker is a big deal.
I'm not saying that, Booner. I'm just saying in the third round, never. Never.
Oh, that's
ever.
I'll go fifth round. Give me the kid from Missouri, man, in the fifth round. The kid you keep talking to me about. The Booner Jr. kid. I'll take him.
I thought you wanted Bama's kicker or something.
I do, but like when he started saying that the Missouri guy, when the Missouri guy looks like me, I'm all in on that, man. Bring my little brother in.
It is 9 o'clock, so it's time for Fan Mock Draft Fridays, where we go through Lions fans mock drafts that they send us. By the way, you can send them all to our social media accounts. Don't send it to us personally. The ones on the social media accounts above us. If you're watching, if you're listening, it's at Official CT Pod. The ones that you send to the account, the main account, get popped up on the screen first. Booner, what you got there?
I just want to Yep, I just want to let the people know. If you guys right now, if you guys see the X right there at Official CT Pod, if you guys have mock drafts now and you want to send them, if we run out, we may be able to go over there and grab a couple too. So if you guys have any right now and you haven't sent any yet, send them over right now because I think we have about 7 or 8 of them, and if we run out of them, then we'll go over and snag a couple more.
Well, for the first mock draft, this comes from, I'm going to make sure, at Stole Your Signs on X. He's a legend, and he's been supporting the fellas for a while. I'm not going to be able to name everyone's mock. If I remember, I'll mention you. But at the end of the day, there's so many, and I tried to collect all of them that I can't put the names to every mock. But here's the first one, fellas. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. The first mock draft, no trades. Kamari Lassiter at 29. They took T'Vondre Sweat, defensive lineman out of Texas, at 61. They're like speaking to all of us here. Like
I think whoever it is watches the show and they're like, let's get one that the boys love. Love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
and round 3, 73, Xavier Legette, wide receiver out of South Carolina. Of course, at 92, Zach Zinner, guard from Michigan.
I love the Zinner pick too. I love all these picks.
I love this. I love this, man.
Can we get some grades?
Third round to steal.
Drop some grades for this one.
A+.
I mean, a letter grade.
I'm going A.
A, all across the board. 10 out of 10.
Like I'm from Canada. A. Like that's what I'm thinking. This one, he nailed this one. This was
Give
good.
that man an A, eh?
Yeah, no, I like this one a lot. I mean, you get Kamari at 29, which Russ, my guy Russ was bumping up Kamari. You can check that out. It's on our YouTube, that clip when he came on. Russell Brown, who does a lot of work around the draft. T'Vondre Sweat, that's Booner's guy. Legette, you got Lucas's guy, and then Zach Zinner, Michigan man. I'm just defaulting that to Michael Gentry. So we got hey, that's a friendly. It might be a little biased, but also it's a pretty good football player. So that's a good mock draft here.
I'll tell you what, too. Anyone who has T'Vondre Sweat in theirs, man, I'm giving them a B probably automatically. I want T'Vondre Sweat in the Honolulu blue come next September. I want to see that man in a Detroit Lions uniform.
I think that's the best mock draft we've gotten so far, though. Fan-wise.
That was a really
good that was a really solid one.
Yep, 4-rounder. Some are going to be a 4-rounder just because the PFF they don't have the they make you pay to go 7. But here's another mock draft. It's not PFF. It's a full mock draft. A lot to break down here. I don't know who sent this. If you're watching, just comment so I can give you a shout out because I want to make sure I do that here. But here's the draft picks. I don't know what happened with the rest of the capital because you have pick 41 and that's where we start. So I would assume this person traded back out of the first and got like a bunch of picks. There's a lot of players here.
Well, every single pick besides 73 and 206 is all from a trade.
Yeah. So there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of players.
So
this is too many players.
But there's a lot of players getting cut on this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Braden McGregor, huh? Braden McGregor, 256.
Well, I will see 144, Mohamed Kamara, Lucas.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, I like that. There's a lot of even Josh Proctor. I like Darius Robinson's a very underrated edge rusher. Braden Fisk, Booner. That's Booner. Braden Fisk. Go look up Braden Fisk if you don't know who it is, Booner. You'll love you some Braden Fisk. And then even Chris Jenkins at 96. There's a lot of nice names here, but there's just so many names that this is just unrealistic in my opinion.
And Russ was talking about Darius.
Darius Robinson,
yeah. Russ was talking him, hyping him up too. So
he's a intangible guy.
Russ also said he was a little low on Kalen King, so seeing him at 73, I've been avoiding Kalen King in some drafts, just mocks. I guess I need to watch some more on him. I need to figure a little bit more out of Kalen King because he was a guy that I was taking in some of mine as well. And then when Russ kind of brought that to our attention, when you hear stuff like that, it takes you off a guy a little bit.
So they got Darius Robinson at 41, Kalen King at 73, Braden Fisk at 79. I like Darius and Fisk. I think, you're getting too – Kalen King, I'm kind of with you. I agree with Russ when he talked about it. I'm not in love with Kalen King. Like, I'm not, especially at 73.
from
Kyrie
Detroit.
Jackson, corner out of Oregon, Layden Robinson. So they got offensive guard at 95. Chris Jenkins, okay, but
Like that.
now you got 2 defensive tackles. Josh Proctor, you said you liked him. Of
No.
course you do. Ohio State safety. I'm just kidding, but he has a
No,
a
hey,
state
that's
title.
why.
Yeah. And then you got Brendan Rice.
Hey, Jerry
out of
Rice's son. We
Yep.
get Jerry Rice's son.
Yep, you out of USC. They got Muhammad Kamara. That's your guy, Lucas. Edge from
No.
Colorado State. Jace McClellan, running back from Alabama. I don't know why you took a running back. Josiah.
When you have that many picks,
Israel?
you get whatever
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah, Braden McGregor. I mean, it's just too many. Like it's
BPA at
LA
that
Rams
point.
draft
yeah,
last year.
it's
Lucas.
too many. I don't see Brad taking 15.
You don't have that many open spots. I
Okay.
respect it though.
Lucas, is that about right around the range where Kamara is supposed to be going? I know that was kind of an edge that you were high on. Is that like right around?
Yeah, because I don't think he's gonna like test overly well at the combine. So he's gonna be probably like an early day 3, maybe like a late day 2 in the 3rd round type of guy. But I think he's just gonna be a round 4 guy. But he has such a high floor that maybe he needs some development. He doesn't have a crazy high ceiling, but there's a lot that you could do with him even just off day 1 in the rotation. At
round.
least.
Grab him in the 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see some people commenting here, kind of reacting to that one. Xavier D says, "Oh no, no, D-." Okay, all right.
Oh, man. Can I throw this up there real quick?
Oh,
I don't
no,
want
D.
to. I don't want to do this, but this one got me. There's been comments all night. This one got me.
They've been holding my shirt.
Yeah,
Hey,
I-
well,
It's
Gentry.
hilarious,
When I read
too,
that one, I
Anthony
was like, I
Davis.
have
They're,
to-
they're loyal members, so they can do it, man.
Hey,
Shout out
Gentry.
Appreciate them tuning in, so it's all fair game.
By the way, yeah, we all get roasted, which is fair. But Gentry, hey, it looks like you're wearing my shirt. You know, my shirt I got roasted.
That is
for,
true. I didn't think about
Hey,
that.
That one.
You're kind
I
of
didn't know you had that shirt.
hopping on Jeff's wave here.
I didn't
Me,
know you
that's
me
had
and
like
Mike
that.
should just show
That's
up unannounced
barcode
and just
shirt?
match. We should just match one night.
Yeah, just so
Get
you can
ro-
take some of the heat. Now I have to be the only one getting roasted on a Friday.
Yeah. No, I
Oh
got.
my
Hey,
God.
Hey,
I
it's
got
all fair game because Monday it'll be Booner and next day it'll be Lucas.
It's always someone else,
all fair
man. It's
game, but
fun
you
though.
You could
Yeah.
scan Gentry right now and he'd beep to get your receipt. QR code.
Hamburglar.
I remember Jeff's shirt now just because of that joke.
yeah, because you made the same one to me. I was a barcode. That's what they called me. Well, let's go to the next.
The bark.
Let's go.
Oh man, the barcode. I've never heard that one before. That
Oh,
is
that
good.
was so funny.
Let's get the
Oh my
next one,
gosh.
next mock up here. So
Whoa,
it's a
This is
4-rounder.
interesting.
Yeah, or not a 4-rounder, but 4 picks. Because I think 92 was that in the 3rd round. I think. Am I stupid?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
No,
third
I
round
think
pick.
you're right.
Which one?
92.
92, I think
that
it's the
four?
3rd.
92, yeah.
Yeah,
73 and 92. The Lions have
So
both
there
of them, I'm
has-
pretty sure. Lions might have 96.
I think the
Regardless.
Lions do have 2/3.
So yeah,
They do.
yeah. So it is just the first 3 rounds. So here you go. Jackson Powers Johnson at 29, Zach Zinner at 61. That's early in my opinion.
Yeah.
Kalen Carson, cornerback out of Wake Forest, and Kalen Bullock, who actually Lucas did a highlight on. You can check it. You can check that out on our social media. He crushed that one because I like Bullock too.
That's an
I
A
don't
at
know, guys.
92 as well.
I don't like Zach Zinner at 61. If you take Jackson Powers Johnson, you probably go defensive tackle, defensive end, maybe
Yeah.
corner at 61. So I don't like the Zach Zinner pick.
That's
At
probably
that-
my
at
biggest
that-
thing is yeah, you just didn't address the defensive line at all in this one, which I think in the first 4 picks, I mean, I think you have to in the first 4 picks. Like that is it's a must is his defensive line, secondary, and then probably offensive line, and then whoever you want to double up on with that 4th one, it's up to me. But and 2, it's just this is one of those things too. I just don't see Jackson Powers Johnson dropping, so it kind of makes it a little unrealistic. And then as well as getting Zach Zinter with that and at 61, I don't know. I think you probably can get him at 73 if you wanted to be honest, and it'd be a better value.
I
Yeah, I
think
think
besides
the-
Zinter, it's pretty good. I mean, you just got to swap, like you said, swap out 61 for a defensive tackle, edge, something like that. Sorry to cut you off, Lucas.
No, you're fine. I think Jackson Powers Johnson, the Steelers just released their center today. You can book Jackson Powers Johnson at pick number 20 if he's not picked to the Seahawks before. There's no way,
Yeah,
unless Brad trades up, that Jackson Powers Johnson is a Detroit Lion. As much as we all want him to be, Mike Tomlin's taking that boy in a heartbeat. And then Zach Zinner, to your guys' point, in the 2nd round for another injury-prone player, I'm not willing to do that. I love the Kalen Bullock selection in the 3rd round, but he's not going to be there. He's going to be a 2nd-round pick. There's no way he falls out of day 2 at the high end of day 2. I'd give it like a C+, though.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
defensive line hurts.
I haven't and I don't know about you fellas. I haven't watched Kalen Carson, so I'm not familiar.
I've heard a lot, but I have not seen him play yet.
That's like a to be determined for me, like an incomplete. But I know I love Jackson Powers Johnson. But you're right, Lucas. Like that's very timely. Steelers released their center, and I mean, offensive line they've been building the last year or so. So that makes sense. It's all right. I don't like Zach Zinter at 61 though. That kind of does it for me. So hey,
I mean, really, what you could do here is you could just go Zach Zinter at 73 and get and get out. And get a defensive end or someone at 29 and then kind of get a better corner at 61. That's how I look at this whole thing. Rearrange it a bit.
Well, here's another one. This is from, I believe, Elgato. So if
shout out.
I know he's been wanting.
Hey, Elgato, you call me out if this isn't yours. I think it is. There's a lot I was said. Elgato, I mean, he wasn't playing no games. It's 3 rounds, of course, 4 total picks. Keon Coleman at 29, wide receiver out of Florida State. The offensive tackle out of Kansas at 61, which I don't hate tackle at 61. But we'll talk about the other picks. At 73 goes defensive line. And then, of course, at 92, he goes DJ James, corner out of Auburn. Elgato, you could put your thoughts in the chat too on this. What made you? What was the Keon Coleman decision here at 29? That's where I'm.
Brad Holmes, Brad Holmes. Like you don't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah, it's gonna be good as well, man.
I want to know his thought process. Like who was there? What was his thought process?
I know.
I really like the Dominic Puny pick.
I brought
the Dominic Puny pick. He's another tackle that can play guard and he can really scrape down. He's athletic, but I think Dominic Puny's a guy that you talk about not bringing Jonah back. Taylor Decker being on the end of his contract, he'd be a really smart investment in the second round. I like that.
Hey, shout out to Elgato. Donated $2. We appreciate you, brother. Puny. I don't mind Puny at 61. Like I believe so. Jeff Olson said Puny will be an interior offensive lineman in the NFL. So I don't even hate it at all. I don't know. How would you guys feel with that? And I like Keon Coleman, the prospect. I'm just talking receiver at 29. Like, where would you guys be with that?
It would have to be based off free agent. I wouldn't hate it. I would not hate it at all because just like kind of what we talked about, it's one. If you lose Josh Reynolds, even if you don't, having Josh Reynolds as your wide receiver 4, could you imagine that? But I mean, what wide receiver trio especially when you add in Sam Laporta, it's going to be hard because if the Lions add to the defensive side of the ball, which is inevitable, they make their defense better now. Oh, their offense just got another weapon added to it, which you didn't even think was possible at this point.
Yeah,
so I don't hate it whatsoever.
The Keon thing to me, I'm not going to sit here and be mad about it. Like, obviously, I would rather have a defense somewhere on the defense to fill those holes. But like again, like if Brad does go Keon, like we do have to understand and know this is if he decides to go a wide receiver at 29 in the first round, which people have talked about that. Guess what? That means he's addressing other the things that we're talking about in free agency, and he knows what he's doing. So if this does happen, I'm sure he's already really addressed corner and defensive line in free agency and offensive line as well. And then he's able to have the luxury of going, hey, let me get Keon Coleman, which is a huge, that's like, you already have a top 5 offense. I mention that all the time. Even if you do like Keon Coleman on that offense, it changes everything. Like changes everything. Like that helps Ahmed. That helps everyone out. Like that takes you to a different level, in my opinion. It gives you that over the edge. Keon Coleman's going to be an absolute monster in the NFL, in my opinion. So I think that would be a huge move. But again, it's Brad has to make the moves outside of that to be able to have the luxury of picking a wide receiver in the first round.
Yeah, and you never know like how high he has, Keon Coleman graded. If he's the best player available, he might, go and get him. I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I would definitely be shocked at first, kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs. No one really expected a running back that early. Obviously, this is later on, so you can kind of take those little chances, I guess, but I just wouldn't expect it, but I wouldn't be mad at it by any means.
Yeah, I see this comment. Brian says maybe Brad thinks he can go BPA in first round and fill holes in 2 to 7 because he drafts and identifies his guys so well. I think that's well said too.
Yeah.
And kind of what you just said too, Mike, about it. Like, I think you guys I think you guys make a lot of sense. I had Keon in my first round mock, the 1.0 I did last week with you, Lucas. I had him to the Ravens. So like, it's not like it's an off base pick. Like he's going around this area. So I don't hate it. I don't. I think knowing Brad, there's going to be a pick, maybe even the first round, where it's not what you expect. Maybe it's a receiver. So
yeah, and there's not many
hate it.
wide receivers that come out of the draft that have that much production in college that are 6'4" and can run a 4.4 as well. So it's just he's going to be. I think it's really hard for him not to succeed in the NFL unless he just goes to like a New England Patriots situation. But for that to happen, it's going to be in the second round because a lot of the teams pick like he's not going to fall past the Chiefs. There's no way you can set that as his ceiling of where he goes in the draft, in my opinion. So he's gonna be a difference maker week 1 in the NFL. So if it's on the Detroit Lions offense, I'm all for it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, he talk about Kansas City. I mean, it's like MVS but better, and they don't have to keep it. He's the same size, and he can run a 4.4 speed. Like he'd be and
He's
offense,
like AJ Brown, but has more like. He's more elusive with the ball in his hands. Like AJ Brown didn't do a lot after the catch, but Keon Coleman can.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, great job, Elgato. Great job. And like I said,
Shout out Elgato, man.
If I remember whose draft it is, I'll try to put it up here. I think this is. Let me just make sure. Okay, this is that guy up north. Who's in the chat as well.
Oh, he always has some interesting takes on these mock drafts.
Yeah, and so hey, we're gonna put it to the test. This is his mock draft.
See.
He's tuning in right now, so let's check it out.
Shout out that guy up north, man.
Here's his mock. Okay, at 43.
Oh,
let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Okay, at 43.
There he is.
Braylon Allen.
That's what I would
Darius Robinson.
Braylon Allen.
And I'll get to it in a second because you know me, Lucas. I like Braylon Allen, but I don't know about this one, though, guys. I don't know about this one. All right, Darius
79.
Robinson at 43. Cooper, is it Bebe? I think BB. Offensive guard out of Kansas State. I'm cool with it. Take a guard. We already talked about Rook, defensive tackle out of Clemson. We covered him already. Rook, Xavier Leggetti, Braylon Allen.
Hey, you did it again. It's Leggett.
Leggett, brother. Come on.
Italian, it's just the Italian.
Default Leggetti. No, Leggett. And then Braylon Allen. Yeah, you got a tight end, Harrison Mevis. I mean, we don't have to break down like every single pick, but the Braylon Allen thing, let's just bring that up, okay? Because I like Braylon Allen. I think Braylon Allen is going to be a good NFL running back.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Lions will take one at 79. I don't know if they're taking a running back.
I don't hate it. Azigbo is getting handoffs again in week 5 or week 4, whatever it was, against the Buccaneers when it's Craig Reynolds and Azigbo. If you bring in Braylon Allen to just beef up that running back room and you kind of address the needs of free agency in the draft, if you get a guy like that, again, you could say what you wanted with the receivers. You can't surround Jared Goff with more weapons, but that includes in the run game. I don't think it's a pound the table for Braylon Allen in the 3rd round by any means. But if he takes him, I'll be like, all right, Brad, you give us, again, that's already the best running back room in the NFL. Make what you're great at, probably the best at in the NFL, even better. I don't think it's a bad pick at all.
So he said it was insurance options, which, here's where I'm at, though, with
that
insurance.
Is fair. Insurance options. I think it's fair, actually. If you have the picks and you've already gotten what you needed, best player available, get insurance options, add depth, do what you got to do. Like, that's where I'm at with it. So, like, if Braylon Allen's there and you already filled your holes and you already have everything ready to go, like, and he's your best player left on the board.
Okay,
that's your third running back.
Wouldn't you want to just add depth at another position rather than running back at that point? That's my only thing, or at least waste a later round.
I do have another.
That pick at 79 is still valuable, and I like Braylon Allen as a player and whatnot, but I just don't think right then and there.
Give me a defensive lineman. Can never have too many.
Yeah, right? yeah. Now you're okay. That's where I thought Booner. For a second there, I was like, hold on a second. Like, let me.
You did it with Darius and Rook.
Oh yeah. Well, he'll real quick.
Can't have too much defensive line, man. Can't have too much.
But let me say this real quick on Braylon Allen, okay? And you guys know how I feel about running backs, right? There's a bunch of them. Maybe not to certain talent, right? Maybe Braylon Allen, and I think he's going to be good. Maybe Brad thinks that, but you talk about the 3rd round. Look at who Brad's drafted in the 3rd round, guys. Like, you're going to take a depth piece at running back. You know how many teams pick up running backs during the season and can run the ball? Like, not maybe to the effect of maybe a Jameer or David, but like that position isn't something, in my opinion, you take in the 3rd round for depth. Like you can go sign a running back off his couch. I mean, remember CJ Anderson? I mean,
God.
I'm just saying. What do you get? What I'm saying?
The meatball.
Yeah, the
I
meatball.
don't understand how that dude was a
meatball.
running back. He was good though.
Yeah, he was, and that's where I'm at with it. I think it's a good draft overall. I think you did good, that guy up north. I think you did good. You took an edge, offensive guard, defensive tackle, Xavier Legette. We like him. So I think you did a good job. Even though I disagree with the Braylon Allen pick, but that's me. That's just me.
Jeff just hates running backs. He'd run them into the ground. That's all. When Jeff sees a running back, he's just like, how can I run this running back into the ground as fast as I can and make sure his career does not last past 5 years?
I want to say it was Brian in the chat said
so
Luke Allen with a corner, and that's a really good draft.
Yeah, I don't know. Your point's spot on. Third round's a little early.
Yeah. I was gonna ask. I agree.
No, what'd you have?
No, I was just gonna ask Lucas, I don't know, like what edge was going to be available at the third round that you would rather have Braylon Allen at?
No, I would much rather go.
Do you know what I mean?
Else.
Yeah, that's
I just don't hate the pick. Like if it would happen, I'd be like,
or safety. I would Booner. I would take any other position than a running back.
What about a kicker?
You can make an argument.
Now we're talking.
Let me cook. No, in all seriousness, I just think you could. I mean, you could take a safety. Anybody. Let's see here. I'm gonna get yours. I see Brian in the chat. I think I have yours. I'm not 100% certain. I'm gonna put it up in a little bit here. But next we have this mock. This might be Brian's. I don't know. Brian's. I'm gonna try and get to yours in a second here. Because we did get a lot of submissions. Here's the next one. I think, let's see if he was cooking or not. Okay. All right.
Here we go.
Here's the mock. You can see the trade. You can see the trade. And by the way, if you do trades and you're on certain drafting websites or you're using whatever, certain mock draft websites, whatever it is, can you include the trade? Because sometimes we'll see picks and we're like, how'd we get to 55? Like what happened to get here? So the trade's included here. Detroit trades a third round pick 73 and they get 82 and 193. So they get more picks. Here's the draft. Byron Murphy at 29.
I wish.
Okay.
If that's there. I love it.
Yeah, they took an edge. Jonah Ellis out of Utah at 61. Mikey Sanders still at 82. Zach Zinner. They got Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver.
Bring in CMP's brother.
Yeah, 163. Tyron Hopper, linebacker, Missouri at 193. Eric All, tight end at Iowa at 207. Then
I'll pass.
Will Ricard. Is it Ricard? I think it is, out of Alabama. The kicker.
We can't see.
I know. I got it.
It's Reichert.
Reichert. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
The kicker, the Alabama kicker. Love that. Love it.
There he is.
I'd rather take him at 207 than Eric All, though, to be honest. That made Eric All off my draft board.
Yeah, it was so
Laporta's boy.
When you see the mock,
he's not Laporta's boy. He doesn't know Laporta.
Yeah, they were there at different times.
What do you think of
Eric
the draft?
All?
What do you think?
Fuck him.
I mean, to get Byron Murphy in the first round, I mean, that's a home run. And then if you get Sanders still in the third and you double up with Zinner, I think it's a great draft. I'd give this a B+.
I like the Mikey thing. Yeah, I like this. I'm gonna go B. I'm gonna go B. I'm gonna go A-. B because Eric All's in it.
Yeah, I'll do B+. I really like the first 4 picks. And I think the trades worked out really well.
Okay.
What's your guys' why didn't you guys like Eric All?
He played for Michigan and then transferred to Iowa.
Left.
He's being a bitch.
I'm not gonna say scumbag, but maybe there's better words to use, but he just left.
Yeah, him and Cade McNamara looked really good, so good for him.
Yeah, had a big year.
Yeah,
he did. To be honest, he did lead their team in receiving yards, and he played in 6 games. I think that's how bad their offense
led their team in receiving yards if he played for him.
What are you trying to say, Gentry?
Brother, I probably could have had 5 catches and led their team in receiving yards.
Well, I will say this about this mock. I like Byron at 29. Not sure if he'll be there, but I like it. I like Mikey Sanders still. I like Zach Zinner. I'm trying to look. Luke McCaffrey. I mean, it's at 163. It's like
Walmart lad. That's what he is. That's what he is. He's the exact same thing as Lad
He's got the
McConkey.
DNA too, man. He's got that
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey DNA.
Yeah, but we don't know how DNA works. Love you, EQ, but you're not Amon-Ra St. Brown. So he knows that. So that's the DNA doesn't always translate. But okay, Luke McCaffrey, I don't mind it. Okay. 163. I mean, it's pick 163. Like, I mean, I do like the kicker out of Alabama. You're drafting a kicker. I'm cool with that. So I like I probably like half this draft, to be honest. If I'm being real.
Hater.
That's why I'll
You're a
go
hater.
B. That's why.
Yeah, I like B. It's a good one.
Thank you.
It's a fair grade, Boone. I'm with you. I'm gonna go B2. I'm gonna go B2.
Glad me and you are on the same page with this one.
We'll go
Need to get that going.
we'll go to the next one here. Yeah, I think last Monday might have single-handedly we might not even do grades this Monday, honestly. we might just let the chat grade, to be honest with you. But here's the next mock. Here we go.
Oh my God. Holy
yeah,
shit.
okay. I don't know. This one,
Let's calm down here.
you got to check your settings or something. I mean, how the hell is we got Braden Fisk at 92? You got Darius at 68, but Jackson.
Brother, you got Jackson Powers Johnson at 34, Byron
in
Murphy
the
at
second
61.
round.
Brother, this would be the best draft of all time. Brad Holmes deserve like a statue instantly. They better have that thing unveiled like as soon as he hangs up the phone. There'll be a party in Detroit for the draft, man, if this happens. Jeez, I'll run down the streets naked if we get all those guys.
Okay, all right, hold on.
I mean,
we don't want to ruin the draft, Booner. We don't want to ruin the draft.
Oh, if we got Jackson Powers Johnson, Byron Murphy, like at 34 and 61, I would hope everyone in Detroit would run. We would do like a naked mile or something like that. That'd be unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, and Darius Robinson at 68.
Yeah.
We've seen him in like 4 mocks. He hasn't made it past like 45. Like the
That is
latest, so.
crazy. That would be wild if this happened. Hey, we got a kicker. Shout out Will.
Reichert again.
I love the enthusiasm. I love the enthusiasm here. Right, like you get Jackson in the second round. I just don't think this is realistic. So
Not a way.
Yeah. So
It looks like a lot of people in the chat want to go streaking if that happens. That's the real
Okay.
blue path.
What are you trying? Is that what you're trying to turn the Booner path into now, bro?
I'm telling you, it's a cult.
Oh,
It's
man.
an act. It's an act.
It might be a cult, but I'm
It's
telling you
stage
what,
two.
we're not doing that. Actually, we're not actually doing that. I promise you. That.
Yeah, like Steve Wow's a sausage fest, man. That's what that is. That's exactly what that is.
Bunch of Booners.
It'll be not Booners. It's the other one. The other B
Stephen
word.
David
Ends in
said, "I wear
ers.
Gentry's shirt streaking."
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, the shirt.
And
thing's
to be
getting
fair,
too
it's
much.
blue. It's not black. I seen someone. It's not an actual referee shirt. It's dark blue.
Oh,
just like
see,
mine.
I
I don't know.
So
That
we couldn't even
looks-
quit if we wanted to. We couldn't even.
Wait,
quit.
is yours black or is it blue?
Yeah, mine's black.
Oh.
So I have the
Oh, no.
referee shirt. Yeah.
Gentry can't wait to throw a flag on Taylor Decker. Can't wait. Can't
I
wait.
think that Lions Blood in the
Yeah,
chat.
yeah.
I think that was it. Shout out Lions Blood, by the way, too. I think that was his. He said, "I just picked what was available, guys." That's great. If
We
it was
love it.
available. I mean, listen, you best player available. I respect that.
I love it.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
appreciate
insane.
Appreciate the
Shout out.
submission, brother.
Appreciate you sending it in.
You did a good job. Let's go to the next one. Here we go. Elgato, thank you for the $2. Says Beetlejuice Gentry. I need 2 wings tickets.
He tries to hold me and then asks for wings tickets. Can't have it both ways, brother. Could be gassing me up while all these people are tearing me down. Then I might try to come, but
Oh, that's funny as hell. All right. Well, here's the next one here. You have a trade too, as you guys can see there.
Ooh.
we get Ed Oliver.
Ed Oliver, you give away a third, a second, and a fourth.
Ooh.
And the second and a fourth are next year's draft, third this year.
Yeah.
And so you have to think in mind with this draft, you have Ed Oliver. So they took Ennis Rakestraw Jr. at 29. I'm not even going to attempt pick 61. I mean, that name, that's an L waiting to happen. Tackle out of Yale.
Go, do it. Come on, man. We're in media here. We're in the sports media. We're journalists. Come on.
Kyron,
Yeah,
Hit it.
Kyron Omega DG.
There we go.
Or D-Lee.
Nice
Is it an
job.
L or a J? I can't see. It's
I
kind of
think
small.
it's Jay.
Kyron Omega DG. Okay. All right. Drake.
Close enough.
There you go, brother.
Oh, they got the center out of Michigan too. They got a defensive lineman. They got a center. They took the running back though. It is a 6th round though. I'm trying to there you go.
You
It is at
hate
2.
running backs, man. You don't
Go Harrison.
you don't want another Jamar Jefferson ever to sniff the Lions roster. That's your
No, I
problem.
don't.
And it's another Bama RB. So
Yeah.
Then we got Booner's kicker down there.
Yeah, and you got a
Listen,
kicker Harrison.
my little
Mathis,
brother.
so- yeah, that's a little bro. He was.
Bro.
Yeah, I actually, guys, I mean, you know how I feel about Ennis Rakestraw Jr. Not a huge fan, but if you're
Yeah.
just looking
Yeah.
at positions,
I
I actually
know.
like. Besides running back, a little iffy on it, but it is in the 6th round. Who cares? I like this. I don't mind this draft at all. The Ed Oliver thing, though, I don't know.
I think that's too much for Ed Oliver, but I think you're
Yeah.
just trying to get the point across that you're trading for Ed Oliver.
Make a move.
Maybe.
That's maybe that a little bit of a splash. Make a move, Brad.
I don't like that there's no edge. I'm gonna give it a C+.
Yeah, I think I
go
would
B.
agree with that one. A little, yeah. We'll do one more here, and then we'll kind of
what did they actually trade for Ed Oliver? I can't even see it.
A second,
here
a
I'll-
third, and a 4th. And I think the 3rd was this 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
a little hefty.
This year's 3rd, 92.
But again, I don't think like you kind of said. I think it was more just like they're making a trade for Ed Oliver, which, hey, if they do, cool. Defensive lineman, I'm all for it. We'll do one more, and then we'll get to some other news around the league. Recently, Xavien Howard, corner from Miami, was cut. Emmanuel Ogbah, defensive end from Miami, was cut. Here, it's cut season by March 13th, I believe.
Everyone's getting cut today.
They got to get these guys. People are getting cut, so the free agency discussions are heating up.
Keeping
here,
my
so we'll
email
get to that.
open. I might get cut.
Yeah, no, I promise you. Here, you're not going to get cut. We're not.
I don't
cutting.
know. Brad Holmes might hit me up. Hey, Booner, we gotta let you go. Stop the Kool-Aid videos, brother.
Would you stop?
We're
Brother.
sending your Kool-Aid videos to Buffalo.
So here's
You want to be a Bills fan so bad, Boone?
No,
Here's the
come on,
next
I'm a
one.
Lions.
and I don't
Maybe.
know all the names. I collected all these by a big group, so I don't. If it's yours, please say something. But here's the next one, the final one. Graham Barton at 29,
Love that
offensive
pick.
guard. He's more of a tackle, but guard. He can play both, so I like that. I like Graham Barton. At 29, Braylon Trice, edge at 61 out of Washington. Tavondre Sweat, Cade Stover, Zach Zinner, Gabriel Murphy, and Anthony Gould. I actually like this draft.
I like it.
Go ahead, Boone.
I would say I like it. And you guys know Braylon Trice and Tavondre Sweat is huge. I don't know where you guys are at with this tight end thing in the draft. There's just some positions for me. I'm okay with not even touching, and I'm almost on tight end being one of those, to be honest.
Actually, I'm going to be honest. I just noticed this. The only thing I don't like is no corner.
Yeah, no corner as well. I
He
did.
didn't
I
take
see like the
single corner, which that.
The-
Yeah.
I do
At the
like Graham
time-
Barton though. Russ was hyping him up the other day, and I watched a little bit on him. And then if you get Tavondre, like Booner said, at 73, I think that's great value. And Lucas can speak
Yeah.
on Cade Stover. He's a pretty damn good tight end. I don't know if I would take him at 92, but I know he's pretty good.
Yeah, that's
and I really like Gabriel Murphy at 207. That would be a steal. He's probably going to be like a round 3 guy.
Yeah, I think instead of Cade Stover, maybe you take a corner there if you're going to go,
Like
and
that.
then maybe draft a tight end later. Because his argument here, talking about like more of a injury concern there, not like that Laporta's injury riddled, but you have some depth at tight end. I think at 92, I'm looking at guys that can come play. Like, so I would go corner, not like a depth piece. But I get what he's doing. I mean, I understand. But I disagree with that. But other than that, I don't mind the draft. I like
Give
Graham
me like
Barton
a
at
Melton
29.
at
Yeah, I do too.
92. We could be. That's a good draft.
Yeah, if you added in a corner and a kicker somewhere in the later, if you had a corner a little earlier, kicker later, I'd probably be
Like
more on
it.
board. But hey, good job. I thought you did a really good job there, Zach.
I'll go B or B plus with this. Just and it gets to an A if you do make those moves.
I think it's a B plus. I think if you kind of add a corner in there, obviously maybe switch tight end and that wide receiver around, I think it's a pretty good draft.
I'm with it. I'd probably give it I'll give it a B. B on the dot.
Hey, I'll take a B. And by the way, we're going to do this every single Friday leading up to the draft. So if yours didn't get read today, I will get to yours. I promise. We do have a lot of submissions. And if you haven't submitted one, you can do it and send it to our Crunch Time social media page, any page, Instagram, whatever it is, and we'll try to get them up and give you guys some love here. But I do want to bring up news that happened. I believe it was today, guys, that Xavien Howard was cut from the Miami Dolphins. And
I don't think he's officially been cut, but they announced it. They officially cut Ogbah, though.
Yeah, Ogbah, it was officially cut, which we'll get to him in a second. But the Miami Dolphins are also planning to release all-pro cornerback Xavien Howard. And it's funny because you mentioned Xavier Howard with Russ comparing TJ Tampa and his play style. But he is 30 years old. You know, he had some crazy seasons early. I mean, he had a season with 10 interceptions in a single season. He's a ball hawk, but it seems like, and he had like 12 pass deflections this year. But it does seem like, as more recently, Lucas, and you could speak on this more than I could, he's lost a little bit of a step, which I think that's more obvious. That's why, to me, they went and got Jalen Ramsey to be like CB1. And he complements Xavier. They haven't really get to play together. But what do you think about Xavien Howard?
Yeah, I mean, in Miami, he was an all-pro corner, first-team all-pro in those years, but he's taken a drastic step off. And if you really look around his situation, you have Javon Holland in the back end, Jalen Ramsey, Adrian Phillips, Christian Wilkins. We talk about Andrew Van Ginkel already, but even guys like Jerome Baker, they have all these guys around him, and yet you can still see that Xavien Howard has lost a significant step. I understand that he's getting cut, but I still think he's going to want a 2, 3, maybe even a $1-year million deal, but not at the Detroit Lions, not for the price you can get for, in my opinion, a cornerback who you know who he is and you don't have to overpay for. I feel like anything north of $8 million for Xavien Howard at this point is just overpaying because he's not going to be able to produce, especially if you bring him in as your cornerback 1. I don't like it at all. Maybe if you add another guy and you somehow get him on a bargain deal, but I think he's right up there with we were talking about Kendall Fuller. Xavien Howard is just because he's past his prime. He's a much better player, but that's like a Kendall Fuller level signing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to me too, and Lucas kind of touched on everything there. Lucas is like our go-to guy, especially for DBs and wide receivers. So I trust anything you say there, Lucas. But my thought is, though, with this, it's just like, does he move the needle for you? Like, you already have Cam Sutton right now. Like, what you need is someone that's better than Cam Sutton that can produce. And like, is he better than is he to come in and be better than Cam Sutton like that much more right away and be that guy that changes everything? Probably not. And that's where like I'm at with it. Like, if they brought him in, I still would expect them to make some sort of move as well. On top of that, so like, I wouldn't be mad, but I'd just be like, hey, like, we still probably should make another move. Because there's a reason the Dolphins are cutting him. Obviously, the money is a big reason why, but there's a reason that he, is getting replaced. So I don't know, and it seems like too he's been injured on and off a little bit as well the last few years. I see he played in 13, I think 12 games, maybe 13, 15. I guess he's played in a decent amount of games.
He's another one of those guys though, where we talked about Jalen Waddle yesterday, where he's just playing hurt. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just at this point in his career, it's not worth the money compared to where the Lions are at. It's not like their fault, obviously, but I don't want another Emmanuel Mosley, and I don't even want to have half of that. Like, if the Lions are going out and paying for guys, I want them to be healthy, and if they're not healthy, they're at least making plays when they are, and you can't really say that about Xavien at this point.
He's only getting older, man.
Yeah, he was kind of getting cooked. I know I missed a little bit of this conversation, but he was kind of getting cooked last season. And if you're going to go out and spend, like Lucas kind of talked about, I would rather spend a few extra more million and maybe not get a guy that's 30 years old. Obviously, we talked about Stephon Gilmore, but I think he had a way, way better year than Xavien Howard.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at what he did this year. Like, I think cooked, I think speaks to kind of what he is now. Because, I mean, you look at, and I checked PFF, don't worry, not the grades, even though he had a 51.9 coverage grade. But you look at targets versus receptions allowed. He was targeted at 71 times, and he allowed 44 receptions, which is like close to like a 60% completion percentage. So he's not a CB1, which, Lucas, you mentioned that. And that's what the Lions need. Like, Cam Sutton, he's your number 2 corner. So if you're bringing Xavien Howard in, it doesn't make. I don't think it makes sense, and I'm not paying more than probably what he'd ask for. So, and I don't know. He's got some off the field stuff. I mean, some baby mama drama, I think, going on too. Like, I think
forgot about that. Yeah,
all that stuff.
I forgot all about that.
He doesn't
Is that
fit.
just every Dolphins player?
Yeah, I would say going into Miami, that's going to happen.
It's true.
Miami's the hotbed of baby mama drama. If you're gonna get a girl you're gonna get pregnant, she's gonna leave and then want my money. It's in Miami.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a culture fit. He's clearly not maybe scheme fit's not the right word, but personnel fit. That would be. He's definitely not a fit. So I think we all agree there with Xavien Howard. What about a guy like Emmanuel Ogbah, who he had first 2 seasons in Miami, 9 sacks. He gets paid. He gets hurt. He hasn't really returned to form. He had like a couple sacks this year. Didn't play too bad. But where are you guys at with a defensive end like Emmanuel Ogbah, who I don't think will command anywhere near a significant amount of money? What do you guys think?
I mean, he brings a lot of speed off the edge. So if you want to use that, I mean, people liked what Bruce Irvin could bring with the speed off the edge. And I mean, Emmanuel Ogbah, he's not the ideal guy that you want on the bookend of Hutch. But if you get him in the rotation, then you add another guy in the draft. I think if you bring him for 2-3 years for like $8, $9, $10 million. Yeah, it's not the sexiest signing, but it's definitely one that'll be making an impact because he's been around the league for a while and he's had a couple of years where he's got close to 10 plus sacks. So I don't think it's a bad signing, but it's one that I could honestly see happening, but it's not going to get everybody up in arms and cheering and touching the sky about it.
Yeah.
Go on, Booner, you too.
I was just going to say, Zach said it in there. He seems like a Dan Campbell guy. I just think like, hey, and I'm gonna die on the hill continuously that this defensive line needs to get revamped, and you need to get new guys in here. And I think if you still can go out and get a big time player, and then as well as have him as like just bring some new guys in, and this is a perfect guy to come in. Who, like Lukas said, he's had 9 sacks in 2 seasons. Last year he had 5. Like I think 5 would have been like second or third on our team instantly. So like he would produce. Obviously he's not going to be like that number 2 right next to Hutch on the other side, but it's just, to me, it's, hey, you're revamping this defensive line. That's just another piece of potential to be able to do that. And I'm not saying, I don't know what the price tag will be on it. Don't know if it's worth it. And then you just have to compare whatever his price tag is to some other guys around the league around that price tag. But if we're looking at some depth there, I don't think he's going to be that number 2 guy, but he's a guy that can add some depth.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't think he moves the needle that much by any means, but if he's a rotational piece, I think he could be a good fit. But kind of like what we talked about earlier, like settling on free agents, I don't think it's like a guy that's going to be like their first like call by any means. So that's kind of my view on it.
I'm actually out on Ogbah. I'm cool because I don't think the Lions will go get him. Yeah, because he's bad against the run. He's actually terrible. He only plays pass rush snaps. He'd be like, you bring him in, he'd be like your Houston. Like,
what's the point of having him if you have James Houston? Then I guess that's point.
He's always been bad against the run. Like the Dolphins used him as a pure pass rusher, which I'm not even arguing that. Like Booner brought up the sacks. Like he's had good seasons in his career as back-to-back 9 sack seasons. But I mean, if how this defensive line goes, guys. Like if you can't play the run, there's the door. Like it's that simple. Like unless you're Houston,
their bread and butter.
Yeah, exactly. Which with Houston, you're like, well, you get a sack a game, so like you're cool. We'll use you on third down, and we'll use you in pass rush situations. But that's where I'm at with Ogbah. Like there's better options. There's better talent available that can play both the pass and the run, which the Lions I think will be more interested in. They don't want to lose this run defense, man. Like you said, Booner, it's their bread and butter. That's what they pride themselves on. And I don't think they really have use for Ogbah. Like I don't know about that one either. But I do believe that they should get a defensive end. I'm not saying that at all. I think there's just more complete defensive ends, like Brian brought up, and that's a guy we've kind of talked about, Zadarius Smith. I think he's. I have to double check. I don't watch a ton of Zadarius. Is he? He has to be better against the run than Emmanuel Ogbah.
Zadarius Smith can do it all.
Yeah,
Zadarius Smith was, when he was in Green Bay and Minnesota, was a problem. He was always a guy when I was like, I wish we had a Zadarius Smith on our team. And he's coming off an injury in Cleveland. I understand that. But even Myles Garrett, when he was like at the peak of his season, it was when Zadarius Smith was on the other side causing problems. So if you bring that in, that's not – I don't think he's better than Hutch, but he's been around the league and played at such a high level where he will help Hutchinson out even just through the development process of just through the locker room and on the field, because he's a guy that can easily go out there if he stays healthy and gets 8, 9, 10 sacks on the opposite side of Hutch. So, and he's really good in the run. He has a lot of size. You talk about, you could put him on the inside a little bit to help free out Aleem sometimes to bring in James Houston on the edge. I think he could give you a lot of flexibility too. So Zadarius Smith wouldn't command a lot of money either coming off an injury. I think that's a very solid signing. I'd be excited about that one.
Sarah says, hear me out. We trade for TJ Watt. Are you the did you send that mock trade? For
Yeah,
TJ
that had
Watt?
to be her.
That one. Hey, TJ Watt. Yeah, bring them all. Bring TJ, bring Myles Garrett.
Bring them home.
Well,
Bring
love a TJ Watt.
Bring them home.
Yeah, I'm with you, Lucas. I would, if I'm talking Emmanuel Ogbah or Zadarius Smith,
I'll pick him up from the airport.
I'll take. Yeah, Booner will pick you up.
I'm talking about TJ Watt.
Oh, TJ Watt.
Yeah, TJ Watt.
Well, that's fair.
No,
I think we the whole crunch time crew can pick him up. We can all.
No, I mean, dude, I'll quit all of my jobs and I'll make sure that he is good to go if he comes to Detroit.
Yeah, I think Zadarius Smith would be a better option. That's why Leonard Floyd, who we've talked about, like like any one of those guys. I know someone brought up AJ Espinoza, who's out the Bills defensive end, which I think the Bills try and re-sign him. But
didn't he get hurt?
I think last year. I think
it was like the last game of the year. I think he get it was like a major injury in the playoff game. I think.
No, that was their other linebacker. Me and Jeff tried to like Reynard or something like that. He might have, but to Jeff's point, I think they definitely re-signed Espinoza. He was a second-round pick that's developed for him really well. Leonard Floyd, I mean, he's made contributes on those teams, but he was with the Rams when they won a Super Bowl. Then after that, he goes to the Buffalo Bills to try to win a Super Bowl. So the lines are definitely on Leonard Floyd's radar. Absolutely. I think if there was the most realistic free agent signing on the defensive end position, I think Leonard Floyd is it.
Let's do it.
Leonard Floyd thing, man. We've been on that. Well, when did I first bring them? We did that early on in the.
That was like our first week of the show.
We're on the Leonard Floyd train, man. We that'd be a great addition. Alan, relax.
No.
Let's go,
relax
Alan.
on that, Lucas. You spam the pause emojis if you feel like that was a pause moment. But Alan became a Crunch member. We appreciate you, Alan.
Welcome to the Booner Path, Alan.
Yeah.
every member
is a part of the Booner Path. That's confirmed.
Oh man,
it is a little cult-ish. It is a little. It's like
you don't even know you're a part of it.
Yeah, a little cultish. ETN says, as a Rams fan, Leonard Floyd was an underrated part to our Super Bowl team. Underrated,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that.
Could you imagine?
To be fair, I didn't even mean to put that one up. I actually
damn it, Jeff.
And I had to stand on business because it was already up. Alan says, keep it up, guys. We appreciate you, Alan. Thank you for becoming a member.
Shout out, Alan.
We're gonna get to mailbag in a couple minutes here. It's almost 9:50, so get your questions ready.
Drop those questions, baby.
Yeah, get those questions ready. We'll get to them, and then we'll try to answer as many as we can. I see people talking too. Brian says another cheap vet you can bring home to Detroit is William. Oh,
William Goldston. It's a vet now. That's a vet.
Goldston is, how old is he?
He's probably like 33, 34. He might be a little bit younger, but he's up there. He's like up there in dog years too.
You say
he's 32, yeah.
32, yeah.
Yeah, because
he turned 33 during the season.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know this for. I think he's from Detroit.
Maybe. I know he was good.
Yes,
really
he is.
Could you Google it?
Yes, he went to. It looks like he went to Michigan State as well.
Ooh.
Okay, that's where. Okay, so he's a local guy.
He's from Detroit. Also went to Michigan State.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I don't know Goldston. I haven't been following him in his career. I know he's on the Bucks. I don't know.
I'll take him over Tyson Alualu. I'll tell you that much.
Okay. All right.
I mean, over Levi, your guys is Lord and Savior.
No.
That William Goldston at 32 years old is what Levi will dream to be.
But who gassing up Levi here?
Nobody. That's
who's gassing up Levi here.
Yeah,
what I had to hear it all into the season. No, you're sleeping on Levi, Lucas.
No,
you're sleeping on Levi.
Well, who are you directing that at? Is that Jeff or is that Booner?
It was a little Jeff. It was a lot from the heavies. I hear a lot of the same talk about one Broderick Martin, and it just repeats.
Don't you dare about Broderick. He's got 1 year.
I will dare. I will dare.
No. Who do you think has?
They're gonna draft a defensive interior guy this year. They have a Liam. They're gonna probably add another one next year. Broderick Martin is slowly gonna find his way down the depth chart. If I'm proven wrong, obviously I'll be happy. But I think that's the fact of the matter. I don't think he'll ever be anything for the Lions. Call me crazy.
That's a fact of the matter.
Yeah,
All right.
Levi.
God,
Like,
heard you loud and clear, brother.
I think my point with Levi was like, hey, we don't know. He's coming back healthy. Like, I wasn't sticking up for Levi. Like, he's gonna tell you, but hey, I was wrong. I thought he could give something. It turns out he's got nothing. That's Broderick though.
Hey, he's got 2 sacks in the last 2 years.
Watch the Broderick slander, all right? We don't know.
How many sacks does William Golston have in the last 2 years?
What gives you hope about Broderick besides what you heard from him
0.
coming out of the draft?
Well, I look.
What have you seen with your own 2 eyes?
Want me to talk? I'll say it right now. Couple
All right.
things. One,
All
the
right,
physical
here we go.
tools, the size, the mass, what he could be, and then the other side of it, from the Lions' perspective, is their player development. I like how a lot of players, guys that didn't look great, especially their rookie year or unfinished, projects, whatever it is, and what they turned into. So I'm having hope they can get something out of Broderick. I'm not saying he's going to be Chris Jones. I'm not even trying to, but
Ndamukong Suh going.
No, I'm not saying Ndamukong Suh, but he'll be a contributor. He'll be out there. He'll be out there.
He might be out there.
Give him another year.
He'll try to contribute.
What did I say about Broderick? Give that man another. Let him develop.
Yeah,
You want another 3 years out of the man.
Let's have this conversation towards the end of this season.
Yeah,
our boy William hasn't had a sack in 2 years, so putting that out there.
0 sacks in the last 2 years. Levi has 2.
Okay, don't do that.
I'm saying he hasn't had a sack.
Starting in front of him.
Don't you do that.
And Levi has 2.
Don't you do that. All right, we'll get to mailbag now. Phil asked mailbag. What we have to give for Crosby? The kitchens, everything and the kitchen sink.
I'll tell you what. Raiders aren't giving Crosby up either. I don't think they're even.
Do you guys see that they're shopping around Devontae though? Did the Jets a lot of that?
I saw that was false though. I saw the rumors and
you
then
think
I
it is?
I saw reports that it was false. Yeah. That they said everyone in the building, in the Raiders building says that it's not going to happen.
Yeah, wasn't Devontae saying that if the coach stayed, that he wanted to stay, and it was kind of like his decision might have been based off of that? But it wouldn't surprise me, rumors with him going to the Jets.
So here's our next question. Excuse me, ETN mailbag. Who would you guys like to play in the Super Bowl if you get there?
I have one.
I would
like to play the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and knock him off his throne. I would love for them to go for a 3-peat, and then we can in front of that, like everyone will be watching. It'll be like the highest rated Super Bowl ever, and the Detroit Lions win it.
Hey, if we're talking like for the storylines, for like I would like the Chiefs, but if we're being like to win.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know what to say. What are we talking about here? What are we doing?
Like that. I think
we'll beat the Chiefs. You guys sound like we'll beat the Chiefs.
If you get the Chiefs and you beat them, I think it'd be like that much significant.
We'll beat the Chiefs.
If we're being real, like give me
the Bills.
Don't be
the Bills.
Yeah, I was about to say another one would be the Bills. They finally make
no. I cannot be the Bills.
Classic.
Give me the Bills. Give me the Ravens. Don't give me anyone in the entire NFL. I don't care if you have to copy and clone a team from the NFC. Give me anyone that does not have Patrick Mahomes on their team.
Yeah.
Sounds scared.
That's the realistic. No,
Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Yeah. I would absolutely be scared of playing them in the Super Bowl without a doubt.
I actually agree with that.
We will beat anyone.
It's a cold. It's a cold.
You see how he's staring into the camera too?
We will beat anyone. Confidence. That's how you win football games. That's how you win Super Bowls. It's confidence. Do you think Patrick Mahomes and them were like, I don't want Tom Brady, we'll just lose to them? No, they wanted all that smoke, even though they went 0-2 versus them in his career.
I bet you they wish they played somebody else after those games, though.
I bet you if you asked him, if you were like, if you could go back and play another game versus him, would you do it in the Super Bowl? He'd be like, yep, I want to beat him.
I would be like, fuck no.
That's because you're mentally weak. Mentally weak. Mental midget.
I'll be mentally weak and win a Super Bowl. I'll be fine with that.
Mental. Got to be locked in.
Fine.
All right.
The Booner Path goes through everyone. We will win every game.
Oh, hell yeah.
Look at this man's eye contact.
He's locked in.
I love Boone, dude. He could give you you should be in the huddle before the games for the boys. You should fire up the Lions players, man.
I would love to, man.
He should be the Lions beatbox.
I don't know
Let
how
him-
they haven't asked me to do a Kool-Aid video. Gentry brought that up to me before going into the last game. The fact that I didn't bring this up either because people were like, "Oh, Booner, self-centered Booner." No, Gentry came up to me and said, "How have the Lions not reached out to you about doing a Kool-Aid video at Ford Field?" Which I was didn't even think of it until he said it.
Good
It's
PR.
just weird because they give like millions of like random content creators like TikTokers and all this like tickets to games and like show them all around. And Booner's video's been blowing up and it got love from the players, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell. So that's kind of why I brought it up.
Maybe this year, maybe we could reach out and people can like add them or something. I don't know. So this year we can all go and I could do something.
You should be Rory for a game, Booner. The mascot.
I would do that, dude. Oh,
Dude, you would
that
be
would
the
be
best
hilarious.
Rory to ever strap it up. You pause. You would be the best Lions mascot that ever been. Hey, I paused it. At least I have the awareness to recognize it. Iafrate.
Come week 1, hopefully I'm in the building at Ford Field on the field with my Kool-Aid pitcher. Well, I'm just saying on the field, like sideline with my Kool-Aid pitcher walking around. That's hopefully. We'll see.
Put you on the Jumbotron. The fans just go crazy for Booner.
Oh, after the win, man. After the win, if I do a Kool-Aid shot at Ford Field, that would be one of the biggest moments of my life, man. I would run over to St. Brown, give him a hug.
Here's the next one here. John Parker, Mailbag. What would be your dream free agent signing for the Lions this offseason? Dream? Like if we're talking, just get me a guy. Daniil Hunter.
Daniil Hunter.
My guy.
Give me Daniil.
Bring him home.
That's a dream right there. That is definitely a dream. All right.
I would say Josh Allen, honestly. If we had to pick between the two, if you had to ask me Josh Allen or Daniil Hunter, Jacksonville.
I'm so
Josh
dumb,
Allen.
dude.
I thought he-
I know. Well, that's your Joe Burrow.
Yeah, instantly I was like, whoa. No, Josh Allen too. That's good as well. Yeah, I don't hate that.
Either of those guys.
Ryan said it in the chat as well. So yeah, I don't hate that one.
He game wrecked a couple games for the Jags this year, where it's like they were about to lose, and then he just completely flipped the tone of that game. It was TJ Watt-esque. Not saying he's TJ Watt, Booner, but it was esque.
Brian asked Mailbag, what's the best part of being solo now, boys? I would say, and I'll get this. My answer is really the creative freedom. Like I love that we can do. This is our platform to do whatever we choose to do, and the only people that answer to that is us. So if I want to do a entire first round mock and break it down with one of the fellas, I can do that. I don't have to hold anything back. It's creative freedom for me.
I agree.
I would just say working with the boys. I mean, we've always wanted to do this. Obviously, me and Jeff did a little pod back in the day, but I've never got to be on a show with Lukas or Booner. So just putting us four together and having fun every night. And obviously the chat makes the show. Without you guys, we'd be nothing. So we appreciate it.
And we've too, yeah. I with Gentry too. Like we've pitched here, us four being like on a show before. Like this has been a thing to where we've tried to do this in the past. So us being able to like actually do it, and honestly like kind of benefit off it on our own. Like we're able to like it's our thing, which is sweet. Like we're building something from the ground up, which I enjoy.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I just think it feels good to be able to be in charge of what we want to do with things, be able to brand things how we want to, and just run things how we want to, and not have to face any pushback, like Jeff said, and just know that we're going in the right direction. It's how it's always supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't believe and to Mike's point, like it really is about this is the first time we've been able to develop this type of show with us, with the fellas. Like we're already great friends.
Talked about it for a year, man.
Yeah. And the fact that we tried to, well, here's a fun fact. We tried to pitch this, but now
multiple times.
So
got told yes.
Got told yes, and then no, and then yes, and then no, and then no, and then yes. And like this was something that has been tried to be done before. So and to be honest, too, building this from the ground up, like we helped build, what the others, like we helped build that, and there was really no like,
well, Booner, we're replaceable. What are you?
That's what I mean. Like we didn't get any, we didn't get any, like we didn't get anything,
baby.
Nothing for that.
Suck
so like this,
baby.
We're building this up, and we're able to like benefit from like this is
Boring.
our thing. Like it's something else. Like we've already built something up, and now we're able to build this up now.
So Brad asked, when's the merch dropping? So here's, I'm glad you asked that, Brad, because all the designs for a lot of different merchandise are done. They're completed. We're looking right now for the best, most efficient,
Supplier.
supplier, cost-effective,
Distributor.
even supplier, distributor to get these things made. We have the designs already made. Roman did a great job.
Yeah.
And he crushed them. And we showed some of them. There's a lot more cool designs. Maybe we'll show them here on the show. So we're gonna get the designs onto to different, not just t-shirts, but different clothing, and we'll get them out. So to answer that question, they're coming. We got the emojis. We're working. We're trying to get everything done. But I do appreciate you asking that, because it is probably a lot of people are kind of wondering that. So I see this too, Eric Allen. Yeah, Jeff, you're stealing all the weed still at Woodward. They're still playing that commercial, but that was more for like my guys over at Dispo.
Shout
Darren
out, man.
and
Those
Sean,
fellas
man,
over
Those are
there.
the
I had a
guys.
lot of fun filming that. I had no issue helping those guys out, but it is
Great
fun.
people.
Yeah, I'll do anything for those guys, man. Absolutely. Let's see that guy up north. I know it's early, but how has it been going so far aside from the freedoms, like the business prospect side? I like who says who says business is booming? Who is that? Is that
AB.
yeah, that's AB.
Business is moving, baby.
Business
I
is
forgot
booming.
about that.
Things
Again,
are going
we're
well.
not doing that. It's not all about just like what we do, what we take away. It's just, honestly, we just love doing this. Like I look forward to doing this every single day. And again, like Mike said, without the people, this wouldn't be possible. So, it's going well.
Can only get better, man.
Yes, that's actually, Booner, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's our goal. We want to make this the best quality show. And that comes eventually. We're not stupid to this. We understand it. A studio, which is down the line. That's something we all
I
talk
can't
about.
wait. I
There's
can't
saying-
wait.
That's
It's gonna
down
be
the
so much
line.
better.
Yeah, it's a
So much
process. I
better.
mean, we forget it's only, I think it's about to be a month. Like, feels like we've been
I
doing
don't
this.
even think that yet.
I think this
Yeah,
is our third week of doing it. All four of us going. So like, we're working on things. We're like we're in talks of everything. I feel like it's about like we have to get into it first, and we have to grow to get to a certain point to where we can make, because it is a jump. Doing that stuff is like those are jumps there that we're.
And all the money we make from this, like the people that donate and kind enough to give donations, or the people that tune into our videos, that all goes towards the business, which I'm sure you guys already kind of understood that. So it's reinvesting in ourselves. I want the guys to get better equipment, better backdrops, a better experience, all for you guys. That's what it is. Investing back into the show, like Brian said. So that's what it's about. So I do want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It was a great Friday show. We'll have some more content posted throughout the weekend. We'll be back on Monday for Mock Draft Monday, and it's always a good time on Monday. So until then, Jeff Iafrate, we got Booner. I keep pointing to my right, but you're on my left. Booner, Lukas,
Love you guys.
Michael Gentry, the boys. Thank you guys. Before you leave, like the stream. That always helps. And subscribe from Mike and his shirt.
The Buddha path, baby.
Dude, sub for the shirt. Show love to the shirt. And whatever.
KG jersey.
We'll see you guys Monday. Have a great
Appreciate you guys.
weekend.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.